Hello and welcome to BBUK Blast with me, Gaz.
And me, Lindsay.
And today with extra special guest.
Me, Trish Balusa.
Yay, thanks for joining us, Trish.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much for having me. Finally.
I'm sure you had a very full inbox, so yeah, we don't hold it against you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And we spoke to Yinwen as well. That was really fun.
Ah, that was great fun. Yeah. Obviously
Yeah.
one of your house besties.
That's my babe.
So how should we start? Shall I start, Gas? So we're just going
Yeah,
to
go
take
ahead.
you on a journey through your time in the house, basically. And feel free to just pop in, because there's probably loads of stuff that you haven't got to talk about. So feel free to, we can go off track. But just from our point of view, it was really great to see you going in as like a Black feminist. That was like, it's so cool for me to see like feminist representation in the house. So we were like supporting you from day one. And we saw a lot of the late night chats where you were like supporting people in the house and questioning them on their dodgy views and things like that. So it was really fun to watch those kind of upstairs people chats and things like that. So how did it feel kind of going into the house, and were you a fan before? How did you get involved with Big Brother in the first place?
Yeah, I've always loved Big Brother. I would say I used to watch it before, mainly when it was on Channel 4, before it went to it was on Channel 4, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
But when it was on Channel 4, before it went to Channel 5, I was just a big fan. I just liked the concept. I liked seeing different characteristics. I was also quite critical about the characters, the things they say, and how they interact with each other and whatnot. So I was like really deep in, and I always used to kind of envision myself and always think, oh, what would I do if I was this person? What would I do if I was that person? And I've also had a couple of people just kind of tell me, oh, you'll be great for Big Brother, TV personality. And I've always been like, okay, yeah, I'll definitely go one day. And then suddenly it kind of went off air and I was like, oh, I kind of missed the opportunity. And then when I heard that it was coming back, I was like, you know what? Just seize the moment, just kind of go for it, and I think since becoming a mother, I've also been a bit more bold in like, okay, someone else is watching me, kind of like have to do things, so I want to be that kind of example that shows my son that I could go for things that I want to do. So, and I thought, you know what, it's a good time. So I applied and I thought I'm going to be delusional enough to believe that I'm going to get in, and the delusions worked.
Well, that's first time lucky, right, Trish? You'd never applied for Big Brother before or any other shows before.
No, I've never applied for Big Brother before. So it literally was first time lucky. But I always said that I did threaten my guardian angels that I should get in. I better get in. So
And how
So
did it feel?
that's your tip for any auditionees.
yeah.
And how did it feel just walking into the house and seeing the house, meeting everyone for the first time?
It was surreal. It felt so surreal. I think I've mentioned before that I struggle with anxiety, and I get too hyperactive sometimes, or I get too anxious, too excited, and it's just like I almost like feel like I was having an out of body experience. The moment that they opened the car door, because they took us through it, they're like, okay, they're gonna open the door, and then you're gonna come out, you're gonna see a few audience, do your thing. The moment they opened that door, I kind of felt like, okay, my body's just leaving. Like I felt like my spirit was leaving my body. I'm like, you know what, just go for it. And so just kind of walking in, I was like, this can't be real. I can't believe this is happening. And even seeing AJ and Will when it was speaking to me, I'm just thinking, like, do you guys actually know you're letting me in this house? Like, is this actually real? Is this happening? And I remember one of the moments where it kind of clicked back is when I saw my mum. Yeah, I saw my mum and my sister in the audience, and I remember waving and saying to AJ, "That's my mum." And then my mum and my sister waving, and then as I was walking off, I was like, "Okay, yeah, I'm actually walking into the house. Like, this is actually happening." And then going in, it was just amazing. Like, I think I remember seeing Hallie. Yeah, I think I remember seeing Hallie. That's all I actually remember seeing. I know there was other people. I think Jenkins was in there as well. I think I remember Jenkins. And yeah, at first I just remember Hallie and whatnot. I remember hugging her. I was just hugging onto anyone that's next to me. I think I needed the body like comfort, so I was just hugging people. And I remember Henry told me I was very huggy as well. I was like, listen, I'll just go for hugs. Like, this is too exciting. So it was a really exciting feeling. It didn't feel real.
I think Hallie was the first person to approach most people as they walked into the house. Once Hallie was inside, she was definitely very keen to greet people. So I'm not surprised that's your first memory.
And Jenkins first in? I feel like
Yes.
he was, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I do remember drinking because I remember when we had to hide. I think we're playing hide and seek. Was it hide and seek? It was a game of
Yeah,
Oh
hiding.
by the
yeah, that
was
was
it when you
it.
buy the kitchen counter on the
Yeah,
floor,
yeah, I
right?
remember that
Yeah.
way. There was a few of us trying to figure out what we're gonna put our legs, and I heard, and I remember thinking, "There's like no, go that way," and then I remember I think Yinron came after or something, but I think she hid at first
Mm.
against the wall or something. It was just so
Yeah,
strange.
that was
That's
it. Yeah.
iconic entrance. I want to know, like, what were you thinking when Big Brother started to do these like party games and things? Because like for us as viewers, it was really unexpected. Like Big Brother doesn't. It felt a bit like childish, right? Like I was a bit surprised.
I was thinking, oh, it started early.
Yeah,
That's why.
they always do. They always
I was
do.
like, okay, just throw us in there then. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, shit then, it started. And
Mhm.
then I was a bit scared when I think when we were doing Pass the Parcel, I was thinking, oh, like, don't let it end on me. Because I don't want to be the first ones to have to deal with like injustice. Because I take injustice to heart. So it's like, please don't let it be me because I don't want to start protesting too early.
Yeah.
Like, don't let my like activism come out early. So, yeah, I was quite nervous about that. So I was passing on things quickly. And I did feel relieved, I'm not going to lie, when it was, I think it was Olivia and Jenkins that sadly ended up getting the brunt of the games. But I was like, okay, today is not me, but you're thinking tomorrow it could be.
Yeah, and tomorrow it was.
At the same time, it was quite exciting to get to know housemates and see their reactions and how we're interacting with each other.
And how did you kind of like form bonds with like the people that you did in the house? Because it feels like your group was kind of like quite an unlikely group in a way, like you and the Tories, and like it was a mixed bag, wasn't it? Was it like, what was it that kind of attracted you to those people?
I think it was just I think first it was a sense of people being quite open and honest in terms of how they felt in what could be seen as a negative way. I think one of the first people well, I think there was Yinrun when we were dancing. I saw her sitting on the stairs and I just went up to her. I was like, come on, girl, let's dance. Because I was thinking, why are you sitting down? Like, let's get the vibe on. And then she just got up and we started dancing and we just started laughing. And then after it was Jordan, I think I must have asked him, oh, how are you feeling? And he was like, oh, it's awful. I'm so nervous. And I saw his lips shaking and I was like, oh, me too. I was like, let's bond over there. And then Henry was there and Henry was just like laughing and everything. I was like, I really like his energy. And so I think it just kind of happened naturally. I think we got to know more about each other after, got to find out our differences after. But at first it was just kind of like naturally clicking towards each other and being honest about maybe feeling a bit anxious, maybe not feeling like happy all the time. I think that kind of sincere responses kind of draws me to people because I'm like, I want to talk about my real feelings. Please, let's not pretend to all be happy all the time. And yeah, and so it kind of just happened.
I think that's what felt like the difference. It felt like your gang as such was like talking about interesting things, like having discussions and like having those like deeper kind of conversations. Whereas it felt like the outside people were more like bitching about you guys and having like a bit more of a shallow conversation. Is that fair to say?
You know what? Because I haven't watched it, I haven't watched it myself. So I haven't seen I haven't seen that outside people's interaction the majority of the time. But I do know that sometimes when I did talk to like there's a few characters like Jenkins, we really had moments where we got on. We may not always had deep conversation, but when we did talk, we did kind of have decent conversations. But I think in terms of their own conversations, they have a better idea of it. But I would say that coming back to us, we did have like deep conversation. We talked about insightful stuff, and I think it's because we were kind of we were happy to reciprocate like vulnerability and be more honest about maybe the things that we struggled with and the things that we were strong at. And I think it's kind of like what do they call it, like a dominoes effect. Once one person is able to kind of admit their struggle, it kind of passes on to someone else. And I think there was a need to kind of want to elevate each other. So sometimes elevating each other actually means saying that, oh, actually, I struggle with that as well. Like, what do you do that helps you? Let's exchange tips and talking about the different worlds that we came in. And I think we also found it really interesting, the different aspects of each other. So we wanted to dig and know more, which made our world more interesting because we were getting to know other people's perspective. So yeah, that and I think we were less paranoid about what other people was doing and more kind of like, let's enjoy the moment. How do we make this easier for ourselves rather than being fearful of what was happening elsewhere?
Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I think it feels like the divide, and don't worry, we're not going to talk about all negative stuff, but you did have a lot of negative stuff happen to you in the house. But I think the divide was just 100% solidified by Big Brother revealing your bloody secret nominations. That before then, you could still mix the two groups together and it was a different sort of, you could go and hang out with Paul or whatever and it would be different. But after that, I just felt like the lines were drawn, and I'm actually really pissed off with Big Brother that they did that. I think they really stitched you and knock you up so bad. It's just bollocks.
I was a bit shocked, I'm not gonna lie, especially as Big Brother told us that we're not allowed to say anything.
Yeah.
So we took that to heart. We're like, okay, we can't say anything. And also, I guess in a way we were hoping there will be what's it called, a trophy for kind of passing the challenge, which till now I don't actually know what was the trophy of that challenge. And I think, to be fair, I think the divide was always kind of there, but it wasn't so much seen as a divide. It was just seen as like different, I guess, like the whole point of the social experiment is that it reflects outside, but on a smaller scale. Like outside is the bigger scale of what's happening. Sometimes you have different groups and it's not so much an issue, just, oh, this is where people are at. And sometimes different groups mix and then they go back to the groups. It wasn't so much of there wasn't tension with it, at least not from my group, or from our group. Or maybe that's my ignorance. I didn't know that it was such a thing to be seen as a divide. It just kind of felt like, okay, these are the people that I get on with more, but I still can have a laugh with other people. But obviously, because I didn't know what was happening in the background, it's hard for me to really say, okay, I understood the divide then. I think I started to understand the divide after the Halloween nomination. That's when it was like, oh, okay, this is very, it's becoming, is a definitive. It's more defined.
Like more defined,
yeah.
I feel like it all started from the ant task, where there was a bit of a run-in between you and Chanel around the queens and the feminist discussion. I think that's sort of seems like the dawn of it for us as viewers.
You know what? I can't have a viewer's perspective because, like I said, I still haven't watched it.
Why haven't you watched it, by the way?
Are you planning to ever watch it, or is that something that you just feel uncomfortable with and you don't want to?
I think, you know what, I am planning to watch it. It would be really nice to watch it because I have heard great things about how I represented myself, and I would love to see myself in a great light. But I think also it's kind of scary when you come out and then people tell you how much you were disliked by other members, and then you think, oh, do I want to watch that? And I think it doesn't really come across quite clear in Big Brother, but I'm quite sensitive about me. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's a hard thing to have to watch yourself maybe be vilified or talked about in a certain way. And if you kind of hear that that's happening often, it's like, oh, I'm not sure I want to see that just yet. You know, when you're not keen to hear bad things about yourself. Do you know what I mean? And so I'm like, oh,
to be honest,
I'm hesitant.
Yeah, to be honest with you, I don't feel like you were vilified. I feel like there was one conversation which was where you had a disagreement with Jordan about what you'd said about what he should say to Chanel and what he shouldn't say, and he didn't like it, and we saw that, and that was probably felt like a slight turn in the way you were being portrayed. But apart from that, I would say on the whole it felt really positive.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, Trish was being called aggressive, scary, blah blah blah, all this bollocks. Do you know what I mean?
But as Trish was shown as herself. Not
but I mean vilified in terms of how other housemates described me. So I am talking about those descriptions. I'm like, oh, I'm not sure I want to see that. You know, like I think there's a hesitancy to see that, and I think especially as a Black woman, as a feminist, as someone who's socially conscious, and I've had a lot of unlearning to do, and to kind of see see myself maybe described in a certain way that I know I'm not. It may hurt, and so I'm kind of like, I want to be ready to kind of face that. Do you know what I mean? I think
maybe some distance between it might help with that. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because I also know I'm very reactive. So what I don't want to do is I don't want to watch it and then be like, oh, I'm so angry now. Say something.
That's exactly what I would do. I would be watching.
But you have to know yourself. I know that I'm reactive, so I'm like, you know what? maybe if I leave some time in between, I will react to it better. I'll digest it better as well. And maybe I'll also understand that maybe other housemates have got to watch themselves back and have understood where they've maybe gone wrong or what they could have done differently. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So so I think vilified in terms of that is not necessarily the editing or Big Brother really, because let's be honest, what happened, we all did those things, we all said it. It may be edited a certain way, there may be some pauses made longer, but I think we're all responsible for the things we said and the way we carried ourselves. And so I'm just kind of hesitant to kind of watch that, because the truth is I did really like some of these people, and sometimes we really actually did have moments, like you'll be shocked to know that like those times when me and Paul were dancing together, there was conversations that me and Chanel had, especially when we had the vintage party. I was really quite down, because at that point I was really starting to sense like there's something going on here, and housemates that, like, I was starting, my intuition was kicking up, but I didn't have anything confirmed for me. And I remember we were going around at the vintage party, everyone was just saying how they're experiencing Big Brother, and everyone was so positive, and I didn't really have anything positive to say then. So I was thinking, so when it got to my turn, I was like, I don't really want to say anything, because I'm still processing how this experience is for me. And I think Chanel really understood that I was quite down, and she came to speak to me after, and she was so encouraging. She was like, you know what, Trish, I just want to say, like, I can see that you're feeling quite down. And she was really motivating, she was really encouraging. She was like, you know, it's not what you think, we haven't been talking about you. She was really encouraging me, really like I felt like she had a lot of empathy for me at that point, and I didn't expect that from her. But she was really like, come on, like, get yourself up, you're doing good. If you watch this back, you'll see that we've been rooting for you and whatnot. And so I was like, oh, this is a moment. Do you know? Obviously I came back to see that it's not necessarily true.
No.
But at that moment,
I felt
a connection to her. I felt like, this girl's kind of got me. We're not close, but she's came to really like lift my spirit. And that night, it really felt like she lifted my spirit. That's why we're able to party and dance quite well. And I know even before that, doing the challenge that actually got us to the party, we helped each other out as well, because I think we were doing the posing stuff. And when we were getting...
with the pain in your faces.
We really worked together. I don't know if that came across quite clear, but me and Chanel really worked together.
That task came across terrible on TV. It was like, it was like, here's this thing edited really fast with loads of music, so you can't tell what the hell's going on as a viewer. But it was just supposed to be like fun. So like, obviously you guys had to follow a path to get to the end, right? And like work out what was going to trigger stuff. But like, that wasn't really in the show. Like we couldn't see how that was working.
Across, because that was one of the times me and Chanel really worked together. Like, we were on the same side, so we were like, okay, you're remembering that, right? Okay, so they went to the left, they went, okay, we're like, remember this, remember that. So we literally both got each other into the party, and we celebrated. So even throughout the night, I felt like we kind of connected. So for me to have those moments, but then come out here like,
but then
it's different.
But then it's not in Big Brother's best interest to show moments like that when they're trying to build the narrative of the two sides and everything like that. It's too nuanced for them to try and dig into that. Do you know what I mean?
I guess the drama is more interesting than the actual connections. Do you know what I mean?
Of course.
And if you got like an hour to show what happened in 24 hours, I guess maybe you just go for the part that's a bit more thrilling and thought-provoking in a very dramatic way.
And
of course.
And talking of dramatic ways, your fights, God, they were so entertaining. I have to say, you have some great comebacks, because we watched them recently again because we did like an end of year like awards thing. Your fight with Dylan, that is poetry. It was so fucking good. But your fight with Paul as well was also excellent. But how did you feel like about just their anger towards you? It felt like they had a lot of anger towards you for I don't know what reason. It felt like there was a lot of misplaced anger towards you, particularly with the Dylan situation, as you hadn't even nominated him, Nokia had. I felt like you bore the brunt of a lot of people's anger at different times, and I feel like you took that on yourself, but it felt like it felt unfair to us watching that you were taking the brunt of this anger. And any idea where that came from and what was going on behind the scenes there?
Look, to be honest, like I said, the social experiment just highlights what happens in the outside world. I think as an outspoken Black woman, it's very easy to be the target of people's anger. I think people almost feel entitled to place their anger on you because you're at the forefront and you're willing to speak up. And I think often it's when you highlight a problem, it's not the problem that's a problem anymore. It becomes a person that highlights it. And I think that's like something that I've learned that in life is where I will likely be targeted quite a lot, because if I highlight something and people don't really want to see it that way, you become the problem rather than the issue. So the issue goes away and then it becomes, no, this person keeps highlighting this and this is the person we're angry at, because it's quite uncomfortable when someone kind of points out something that may need fixing. And so I think that's the position that I played in a house quite often, because I was so outspoken, I was willing to highlight things and I wasn't scared. And I think also when you show those strong traits, people tend to then assume that you can take on their negative emotions because you're so strong. Hence why I was able to have that conversation of being strong. And I think at one point when Dylan was apologizing to me, he even said that I reminded him of someone that he has a good relationship with outside, and he speaks to them in a particular way and they can handle it. And so he kind of thought that, yeah, she's strong, she can handle it. And so I realized that was the thing that was happening in the house. It's almost like, oh, she's very strong, she can handle it. Whereas if you are more vulnerable or seen as more timid or non-confrontational, you're then protected more. And so I think that's just the harsh reality of it. And I really do hope that shows like this do highlight characters like me who also need protecting despite coming across as very strong, and how actually it isn't fair that we tend to bear the brunt of people's frustrations. Because the truth is, we all got frustrated in there. We all got annoyed, angry. There was tasks that we didn't want to do. Sometimes it was nobody's fault. Sometimes it was all our fault. Sometimes it was specific people's fault. But I think self-awareness and knowing how to navigate your emotions was probably something that some characters or some people struggled with. And so it ended up falling on me. So if I spoke, it's like, oh, she's speaking again. That's the reason we're angry, rather than actually there's a lot more that's frustrated us. It was quite sad to have to experience that, but it wasn't new for me, which is a bit of the sad thing as well. It's not something that I could say it's not like a new experience because I'm in Big Brother house. It's more like a continuation of what happens outside now happening in such an intense house, intense place where I can't get away from it.
It makes perfect sense the way you've just explained it, and it makes me think of when your sister came in, and it's like, no, Trish doesn't need to see her sister. She's strong. Blah blah blah. Olivia's weak, or all this bollocks. Olivia's not weak in the slightest. Do you know what I mean? And it was just like, and it was your friends doing that. That's what pissed me off. It's like, no, Trish's friends should be looking out for her and getting her to see her sister. Why the fuck should Trish have to take this? You know, you're strong. No, you're not strong. You're being forced to be strong because loads of shit's being thrown your way. It just pissed me off.
And that's another thing as well that I had to learn as well, is that people, because I'm a vibrant character, people are like, she's strong. But then also because you get called strong often, you feel the pressure to show up as strong as well, rather than actually me being able to be like, hey, I'm actually really struggling. I struggle to say I'm struggling unless I was in a diary room. And I think that's probably what made it really hard for the housemates to see me as a vulnerable character, because I think the viewers and Big Brother got to see that part where I come in and I'm crying and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I can't believe I'm hated so much. But then I'll go out there and be like, I'm going to be strong. So I'm showing up as a character because there's that expectation built around me. And it's not even intentional from my side either. But then showing up as strong then confirms to them that she's strong. And then it becomes an endless cycle for me.
Vicious circle,
You did get the chance to highlight these things in the podcast task, though. Do you think that changed anyone's opinions and like outlooks on that kind of subject matter?
Yes.
Did they get to listen in? They did, right?
No, they didn't actually. No, they didn't, because yeah, no, they didn't, because I think in a way it was put that way, and I was reassured that they're not going to listen in, because I think at that point I was becoming a bit broken. And I didn't want to speak to them about these things, because I realized me speaking about the issue was the problem, not necessarily the issue anymore. So when Big Brother was encouraging me to speak about it, I said, I'm not going to speak about it, because every time I speak, I now get in trouble. So then they kind of set up the podcast, and I feel like that was an intervention from Big Brother. And then when they put me, Henry and Matty together, which was a very safe space for me because I was very close to both of them. And then they were like, Big Brother kept saying that other housemates are not going to see it. I think because they realized that actually, if I know the other housemates are going to see it, I'm going to be really hesitant on how much I say. So I think that one was even put in as a protective factor for me. But when I was speaking, I did get emotional, and even then I was trying to hold back my emotions, like wiping the tears, like, don't show them you're weak. But Matty really, I really felt like Matty grasped that. I sensed the guilt, and then I felt like Matty kind of leading that on influenced Henry as well to kind of take that in and be like, oh, actually, because I think Henry ended up admitting, like, actually, I do see you as this strong character. And you know, and I think he recognized as well how then that placed a lot of pressure on me and kind of took away opportunities for people to be there for me as a vulnerable person as well. And then the conversation carried on even after that, luckily, because that it opened a can of worms. And so after that, I think we went upstairs and we were talking about it. I don't know if you guys got to see that again. And even then, I remember Jordan saying to me, you know what, I actually understand what you're saying about the strong stuff. Like, I get it. You're making a lot of sense. And yeah, I think it was a good conversation that day. And hopefully we take it to our outside lives as well. But whether I can say it had an impact outside the house or not, I don't really know, because that would have to be on their interactions with other people and other characters who they think are strong and how they navigate that. But I know that to the public, it was definitely something that was touching. I've had a lot of women reach out to me when it comes to that. I had people reach out to me to talk about how it made them realize that they kind of let their strong friends down. I had strong women who say that they felt like they've always had to be strong and realized that they had to be easy on themselves. There were so many different perspectives that I got contacted about. And I think that was quite special to kind of have that impact on society anyway, because, you know, I think that's what social experiments should be for, to teach us these kind of things.
I actually, now you say that, I remember being a little disappointed that Big Brother didn't broadcast that to the house, because I thought it would have been a valuable conversation for them to hear. But now hearing you say that you felt like more comfortable to talk knowing that they weren't going to hear it, maybe it's better for the viewers that you were able to speak freely, so that did get broadcast to a lot of people who could understand and experience that maybe they wouldn't have had a very good understanding of otherwise, right? Maybe they don't know people like you in their real lives, or they're not that close to people, but they might have colleagues and maybe they'll look at them in a different light. So I think it was a valuable conversation to have.
Yeah. I know that looking back, I do think, oh, Trish, you're such a pussy. You should have just like been speaking out. But I was so exhausted at one point as well. You know, when these things they go on for a long time, you're like, I'm just tired. Like, I can't keep fighting. And I don't want to. Yeah, I
don't feel like that. Don't feel like that. Or you had to battle. We saw you battling every day, and
I was fighting for my life.
Yeah, we felt for you. So don't ever think that but you shouldn't have had to battle like that every day. I still blame Big Brother for these bloody secret nominations.
I've got, before you move on to another subject, I just want to step back to ask Trish about her relationship with Dylan, because I felt like at the start you were probably getting on quite well, and I want to know, like, was it a bit of a shock to have Dylan kind of come out of that task room and come for you? Because seemingly I would have thought you guys could have talked about things. You were talking to Dylan about the tensions between yourself and Chanel. Actually, I think he was probably one of the first people to sort of raise it with you, but I don't know if we saw the full context of it or how it was raised. But yeah, I'd just like to know more about, like, how was your relationship with Dylan? How did that end up coming to that point?
Well, I think what's very clear is that me and Dylan really clicked at first. Like, we really had like a bro-sis relationship. I even think on the day when we got the pictures of our family, and I really broke down seeing my dad's picture, I think Dylan, Zach, first of all, I think all the housemates cried with me. I think that day, I have to give it to all the housemates. There was so much empathy that we all started crying. Everyone was like, Trish, you're making all of us cry. And I remember Paul walked out because he got so emotional, and I went after him, and then Dylan came after me, and I remember he even hugged me and kissed my forehead. He's like, you've got this. So he was really supportive. But I think what I'm realizing now is that maybe Dylan started being influenced by other people's perspective of me rather than his interaction with me alone. Because what I started to notice was when I think he had that conversation with me where he was telling me on the act task, and I think he was telling me off for the smack talk that me and Olivia was doing, and I was being solely blamed. I was a bit shocked that I was telling Dylan that it wasn't just me, but he was completely ignoring it because he was just so focused on the fact that Chanel was scared of me. And I'm like, but I'm telling you, it wasn't just me. And and I'm telling you that actually it's painful that someone is saying they're scared of me when I haven't done anything to them. But he just kept ignoring that. And then I was thinking, okay, what's going on? What have I missed that that's kind of making Dylan not understand that actually this is not who I am, you know? And you're like, but even at that point, because I still respected Dylan as big brother, I was like, he's trying to look out for me and Chanel. He's trying to make sure things are calm, but I'm trying to explain to you, I'm telling you my perspective, and you're completely ignoring that. And I think that's when I started losing a bit of trust for Dylan. But again, I wasn't privy to what was being said on the other side, but I started to understand that, oh, he's neutralizing my pain and he's telling me off, but he's not going to back me. I think I started to understand that he's not really supporting me, and you know, I am already somewhat a villain to him. And I think that's when I started to take a back seat. And then honestly, I think then he started to understand that I started to take a back seat, because what I would then do, what I would then do is like, if I felt like someone had weird energy towards me, I'll start avoiding them. Maybe if they walk into the room, I would maybe walk out, or I would try to not stay by myself with them. And to be fair, I think I did the same with Kerry as well. At some point when I was like, okay, there's a weird energy here, I'll kind of start to pull away. And I think Dylan probably sensed that as well. And so I think maybe there was underlying tension that was being built because we were not having an honest conversation. And then whenever something came up, he would kind of be snappy towards me. And I'm thinking, whoa. And I think there was also the Zach situation where Zach left and he was very quite snappy towards me because I wanted to make food. But then he apologized.
Yeah,
after.
I think Dylan was quite knocked by Zach's exit, right? And then he started to try and like get into the kitchen, which is obviously his like comfort zone.
I think that's his
and he was being really
mechanism,
spiky.
cooking.
Yeah.
And as for Chanel being scared of you, please, scared of you, as if she's scared of you. I think she can handle herself. She's not exactly like a wallflower, is she? It's just,
but that's the thing. Chanel did, like, I did have the conversation with her, and again, I wasn't going to. I just went to the dining room and cried my eyes out. And Big Brother was they really pushed for me to have that conversation. It was like, you know, it's worth having a conversation with Chanel. It's worth having a conversation. And I was like, no. Like, I was just like, I went to the dining room to say, can you play the take back? I just want to see if I was the first one to come at her or if it's Olivia, because now I'm a bit confused. And they were like, just go have the conversation with Chanel. So I went to have the conversation with her. And for my half, it was definitely sincere. I was like, you know what? I think that narrative of like me coming across scary or aggressive, it kind of plays into the angry Black woman narrative. And I think she understood like how it was for me. Like I said, whenever I spoke to Chanel, I always felt like we genuinely sorted things out, because I didn't know what was happening after I talked to her. So she was like, to be honest, Trish, I never said I was scared of you. I don't know why you've been told that. Like maybe I should speak up more, but I don't want any trouble. She made it clear that she avoids kind of like confrontation. She was very clear of that. And I was like, you know what? It doesn't even have to be confrontational. We can just have a conversation and sort it out, because obviously me now hearing that, I'm now confused as to where this is coming from. And we had a good conversation. She was like, no, I never said that to Dylan at all, blah, blah, blah. So then I started thinking, okay, maybe Dylan thinks like that of me himself. Maybe. A bit of, that's what I was thinking in the house. But again, I wasn't privy to all the other discussions. And so she made it clear that she didn't say she was scared of me. And so, I just wanted to clarify that. She made that clear to me. So I didn't think there was an issue. And so that's why I was kind of confused when later on finding out it's been ongoing, because it's like, well, we've had multiple conversations. I've come up to you, we've sorted things out. Like, what can be the problem now?
To be honest,
go on, yes.
Go on, Lizzie. Finish that thought if you want.
No, I think part of the problem with the Chanel situation was you would bring up topics where she probably didn't feel that confident expressing her view, because sometimes her view was rather stupid, not to put too fine a point on it, and you know, inarticulate, we've got two moons, you know, this sort of bullshit. So I think she would be scared to get into a debate with you. I think maybe that was where the scaredness comes from, because it's like, I would be scared to get into a debate with you also if I was her.
Okay, so I guess that's probably that's her being uncomfortable with maybe debates and stuff, but that's something that I'm comfortable in. But just the same way, there's topics that I'm sure Chanel can, like, she can outsmart me. And when we're talking about dental care, dental therapy and stuff like that, there was conversations where I would be learning from her, and I wish that she probably understood that perspective more, that I'm talking about things that I know, but there's things that she knows that she can talk on that I could actually I could probably like ask on and get to know more. And there was conversations like that actually, and I wish that came across as well on TV. There was a time where we were talking about pandemic and domestic violence and how it affected some patients that she's had, and how they kind of discovered some patients were kind of going through domestic violence through like dental treatments and stuff.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we had really good interesting conversations that I think it actually probably would have made a lot of difference if people saw as well. Like, you know, it's like, and then I would ask questions, and then and I think even Kerry got involved, because then I asked, okay, if you guys suspect this, how do you then report it? So there'd be a middle person in between, and Kerry would be like, yeah, that's usually when we come in. So there was really good important conversations that came on, and I wish she felt more confident in leaning towards that there's topics that she actually led me in, but there's also topics that I'm really good at, especially because as an activist, as a feminist, this is my area, and I'm just confident in it. But it's not to take away from what she knows and what she can speak on. So it's a shame that I think she let her insecurities kind of guide how she spoke about me and thought of me, you know, because we could have actually come together and been stronger rather than.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I wish we'd had that conversation.
Yeah, I'm now sort of thinking there's probably a lot that we didn't see about this whole situation as well, like underlying it, because it felt like it came to the fore from the ant task and a conversation between you and Dylan. I don't feel like we saw much of it coming from Chanel in the edit even. I don't know if Big Brother was trying to like shy away from including this kind of stuff, but I felt like we mostly heard like you talking about how you felt, but not really seeing it actively play out in the house. More often. And if I recall, I felt like the argument seemed to, or the sort of divide started to come up when you wanted to make a comment about feminism, and she was like, well, not everything's about feminism. And it was almost like she was shooting you down for wanting to talk about that subject, and almost saying like, and I think Paul said the same thing, like, we don't want every conversation to be serious in the house, but like, I mean, you need the stimulation, right? Like, you're going to talk about these things that you're passionate about. And for us, like, that is stuff we want to hear too. So as viewers, we were just like, no, don't shut that stuff down. Like, that's what we're here for.
Yeah. You know what? It's quite interesting because there were moments like that. But then also, I think maybe what also didn't come across as well is that I'm not always serious. I'm not always in this conversation. I think maybe I came across as such a serious character, like, let's talk about serious stuff all the time. But we had a lot of silly moments. Even with Paul, like I said, we had a lot of silly moments where I'm like, look, are we going to have trouble sleeping tonight? Because are we going to fight? Like, we had those moments where we're running around, jumping around, tickling each other. But I think maybe because they already had a perspective of me just being too serious, that it didn't allow them to kind of like get to know other aspects of me. Whereas the upstairs gang, because they knew that there's different parts to me, like I'm kind of, what did they call it, I'm not one dimension. I've kind of got a lot of dimension. I've got a lot more to me. I have a time to have serious conversation. I have a time to laugh. I have a time to just be quiet. It's shocking, I know. I have moments where I just chat. But there's so many different aspects to me, and I wish that everyone got to explore that. And I think this is where I probably empathize with Yinrun a lot, is that maybe sometimes there was an assumption of who we are, and then there was lack of interest that there could be other aspects to us. Whereas I think me and Yinrun got to explore that with each other, you know, like we took that interest in each other. We can make silly jokes, we can have proper conversations, we can challenge each other, we can say, no, I disagree with this one, and we can still move forward. Whereas I think maybe they felt like because of the topics that I'm passionate about is not their reality, they couldn't interact with me. And then it kind of put a wedge there that didn't even need to be there, really.
Hang on a minute. Did you say you had disagreements with Yinrun and you said you'd like talk about it and move on? Surely you two didn't have disagreements, did you?
No, there definitely was. There was times where it wasn't like hardcore disagreements, but it would just be like, oh, this is my perspective, but this is my perspective. It's like, okay, sure, fair enough. Like like in the beginning when she was saying that she didn't feel like other housemates were taking an interest in her. From my perspective, I was like, fuck them. Like, you don't even. At one point, I was like, girl, I wish they would leave me alone. You're left alone. That's a disagreement, because she wants people to come to her. I want them to leave me alone. And I'm telling her, you're lucky that they just say hello to you and move on. They don't go and nominate you. Whereas with me, I feel like there's more attention on me than there needs to be. So it's like, even that was a bit of a disagreement in terms of how we wanted people to interact with us. But however, we're like, okay, you know what, I'm going to support you through this pain, or what I think you think is this pain, but it's really not a painful thing. Do you know what I mean? That's
what a
painful
different
for her, but it's not
experience,
painful
right?
for me.
Yinran wanted some heat. She wanted to like maybe like receive some nominations, and you were like, "Can I catch a break for a minute, please?"
You know what I mean? So that was a disagreement. I was like, girl, it's not good when you're getting those nominations. Like, trust me, like, you don't want that. So it was disagreement in terms of that. It's just perspective and stuff. And we were able to have a lot of these conversations that was quite difficult. And yeah, I just wish that was the case with a lot of other people, to be able to have those conversations and get through to the other side.
I felt like that was. Sorry,
no, go on. You go,
I was gonna say, I felt like with there was a lot of missed opportunity from some people in the house to kind of discover about other people's lives, like especially with Yinran. It was really sad to hear that she felt people didn't want to talk to her; they just like would move on, because Yinran's from a completely different like culture. Like, there's so much to learn, surely.
And that's what makes her so interesting. Like, there'll be parts where what was it? I don't know if I slapped her bum or something, and she's like, oh yeah, like, I was like, what does that mean? She's like, it means, oh my god. I'm like, oh my god, that's so amazing. Like, just her reaction to things, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so different. And I think for me, it was like the interest and difference in culture as well. Like, I found it so interesting, like her reactions, her interactions, just the way she'll react to things. And I'm like, okay, that's not English and that's not Congolese. That must be very Chinese of you. Do you know, those are things that I found really interesting, because it's getting to know another aspect of someone. And I found her so brave, because when she said she's only been in the country for 2 years, I was like, you inspire me. Like, I've been in this country for how long, and it took me how long to apply for Big Brother. It had to stop and come back for me to be like, let me apply. Whereas for her, it was like she just did it, and I was like, you don't even understand how amazing that is. And I just wish that a lot of housemates took the time to explore different parts of us like that, because there was parts of me that was very Congolese as well. You know, there was some things I did, I would just start dancing, and I think Henry
with a
explored
soup
that
pot
quite a
on
lot.
your head, maybe. Is that very Congolese?
That is very Congolese. That is very, very Congolese. Like, that was probably one of the most Congolese things I've ever done. But Jordan and Henry were really interested in that. They kind of were drawn onto that, and those were the things that I wish we kind of got to know more about each other. Like, everyone can understand, okay, we do have a very British culture. All of us have understood some aspects of British culture, but then there's other aspects of us that we had lives before we kind of came into this country, and we had learned so much from those cultures as well, and we have a lot to offer to that. And it's the same with Farida. Do you know what I mean? When with her Islam stuff, you know, it was kind of different to see, okay, so we can find out the time from her because she's praying at different times. How do you know the times? Just to be so curious, you know.
How did she know the times? Actually, that's interesting. Because there's supposed to be no clock in the house, right?
Is it the sun?
Did the big brother tell her, or
where the sun is in the garden, maybe?
You know what? I don't know how she ended up finding out. I think she was getting reminders from Big Brother at some point.
Right.
Yeah, but then also we end up discovering that there's a time on the oven. Yeah, I think it was Callie that discovered that, and we're like, oh. But then we tried to not make it obvious that we knew, because we didn't want to switch it off.
That's good. Like, Trish, what I was going to say earlier, I don't think you were shown in a one-dimensional light at all. You were shown, we did see your fun side as well, and we definitely saw your really caring side as well. So when you watch it back, don't worry, you weren't just shown trying to talk to me about issues the whole time. So don't worry.
No, not at all.
Not at all, no.
I don't want to be that serious person. That's like, oh, it goes again.
No, definitely not. So
I have a point, but I don't want to lose it. Sorry, Lindsay.
No, don't do it.
I just to step back to what you said about coming into the house and the party games, and you were like trying to avoid like having a spotlight on you because you didn't want to be like raising any issues too soon or whatever. How did it feel then when you were like pretty much immediately picked out by Big Brother to be part of the bigwigs task and to be like a main role in that task? You must have thought like, what was your thought process? Were you like, okay, I've been selected for this, like I'm going to be a big part in this task now, like why and what does that mean for me on the show?
I think by then I was quite excited. I don't remember what day that was, but I think we'd just done the bed challenge already. I think we already had a challenge that we did, the lying on the bed for however long, and I did. So at that point, I didn't feel like there's going to be so much all eyes on me, because from the bed challenge, it wasn't like I was one of the first ones to leave or the last one to win. So I was like, I'm kind of fitting in already, so I felt more comfortable. So when they said that there's going to be 3 of us that are the main, and I guess I felt more comfortable as well, because it was with Yinron and Henry. At that point, we're already getting quite close to each other. So I'm like, okay, this is going to be amazing. Even if this goes wrong, at least I'm with these 2 people where we know each other quite well. So I was really excited about that at first. It did get very daunting afterwards, being locked up there. But we made the most out of it, and we laughed so much.
Yeah, that one looks a lot of fun.
It
was a really good
great.
task, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think looking back, it was one of my favorite tasks, and also I did appreciate the fact that we got to eat proper food. But again, I think my activism did kick in, because at some point I was like, we need to give the people downstairs food, and then Big Brother would be like, housemates are reminded, or big wigs are reminded to not give them. I'm like, oh, shut the fuck up, man! I literally started beefing Big Brother at some point. I don't know if you guys saw it, but at one point on the phone, Henry and Yinma were like trying to take the phone off me. They're like, Trish, stop. I'm like, no, but why can't they have a smoking break? And they're like, Trish, please stop, we're going to get punished. So yeah, it was a really interesting task, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. But I think it was also, for me, it just kind of kept highlighting capitalism. I think it got a bit political for me. I was like, this is about capitalism, and it's showing us how capitalism worked, and the people at the bottom and the lowest class, and and I was like, it was a bit of a mind fuck, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a capitalist and I'm at the top. Oh my gosh, I'm that person I criticize every day. So it was interesting to be in that position as well. I'd be like, oh shit, and I'm eating, and I was like, not eating. How is it working out?
Typical Big Brother trying to like make you something you're not.
Yeah.
Another task that springs to mind when I think of you, Trish, is it is a task when you had to lick the plate of the pane of glass in the diary room, and you whipped your
kiss
wig.
cam.
Yeah, when you whipped your wig
the
off.
Kiss cam.
That was fucking great. I loved that. That was just so fun. It was just silly. It was really fun. So yeah, there was a few good ones. Hallie, yeah.
Yeah, big up Hallie for that.
Yeah, Hallie was
that was
good.
Hallie's idea.
Yeah.
That was Hallie's idea. She gave me the idea just before. When she first mentioned it, I was like, no. But then when I went in there, I was like, why not?
Yeah.
And because I hadn't stuck my wig down, it could easily come off. So I was like, you know what? Do your thing. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. Yeah, I enjoyed that whole task, to be fair, the Kiss Cam. I even enjoyed how uncomfortable other people got. But I was like so excited. At one point, Paul was like, Trish, you're so excited. I'm like, yes, I am. I can't wait. I was just so excited for it. Like, I really enjoyed that task.
That was fun. See, there are loads of fun moments that I can remember.
Yeah, so also, I was going to say the Shane Ward, when you started to sing That's My Goal, that sort of like blew up. That was a real like curveball song for you to just suddenly do a little rendition. Was it for Yinron, I think?
Yeah, for Yinron. I never expected it. You know what? I even forgot that I did that. But you know, I'm a big lover of pop. Yeah, and this is another part of me that people don't really know. Even some of my friends didn't know. They were like, my friend said they were showing a side of you. I was thinking, Trish likes pop.
Who is this?
But I really love pop songs. Like, I really love music. I really love pop. And I think that's the Congolese aspect of me as well. But I even liked pop, even back in Congo. Like, I used to like pop music. I didn't know what they were singing or saying, but I really enjoyed it. So Shane Ward, I love Shane Ward. My favorite song by his is actually Breathless. But that day, That's My Goal. I don't know, it just came to mind. So I just started singing it.
I didn't know he had more than one song, so I'm learning.
Oh no, he's even got that In That's Okay With You song. I'm a Shane Ward fan.
You are a fan, clearly.
Yeah, I love Shane Ward. I really enjoyed that, and I'm shocked that moment became a thing.
While we're on that subject, just because I know that a listener sent in a question, or one of your fans sent in a question, J for mail, I can't read that, on Instagram, basically asked what your favorite song is, and then said that you should make a public Spotify playlist. I think I heard you talking about your favorite song on Instagram recently, and it was a Congolese song.
Yeah, you know what? I don't have one favorite song. I've got so many
No.
songs. Yeah, but one of my favorite ones is it's called the Valley of Zaire. It means the river of Zaire. Congo used to be called Zaire, but it's such a beautiful song. It's just a love letter. It's just talking about how there's a river between us, but I'm thinking of you, and like it's just so poetic, and it's in Lingala, and it's just like, guys, I think I'm gonna send it to you. But it's one of those songs, even the guitar and everything, it's just really soothing. But yeah, my even my playlist, yeah, especially my sing-alongs, yeah, it will really go from like a Congolese song to like Britney Spears to like Pussycat Dolls to like another Congolese song to like a Ghanaian song, a Nigerian song, and then a Bollywood song. It's like so crazy to look at my playlist. Like, I'm one of those people I can never give my phone to play at a party because you just never know what's gonna pop up.
Yeah, I feel that. So moving more towards your eviction, but we can go back. We were fighting like fucking hell to keep you in that house, Trish. And I want to know what you think about vote to evict versus vote to save, because I think with a vote to save, you would have bloody won the show. Vote to evict, you're always going to have haters, always. Everyone popular who's a good personality always has haters. Look at Nikki Graham, she got bloody evicted on vote to evict and people loved her.
She was one of my favorites.
Yeah, so it's like a vote. I fucking hate vote to evict so much. If it was vote to save, I honestly think you would have won the show. Did you know it? You didn't know in there if it was vote to evict or vote to save, did you?
We never knew. At one point we even started assuming that maybe they flip it around just to keep the element of surprise.
Yeah,
but we never really knew. You know what, I think the way I like to think of it is like I came out in my time was my time, because I think also I really enjoyed coming out to an audience that were very, like, cheering for me. Do you know what I mean? I think maybe if I came out later and I had a backdoor exit, I'd always wonder, oh, was I loved? Was I disliked? You know, what was this like? So it was very reassuring for me to come out in that way. And I think I was the last exit with an audience in that way. So I think that was very much, that was a line for me, if that makes sense. Because I think equally there may have been other times, if it was vote to save where I was nominated, other people probably could have been saved over me. Do you know what I mean? Maybe other people got vote to evict because they were disliked more than I was loved at that time. Do you see what I mean? So I think, I think it just varies, but I think that what's mine happened for me at that time.
And I think it was interesting, you and Chanel coming out the same night, because it was like the two heads of the two different sides both getting.
I have to say, I'm glad she came out before me. I'm glad I came out after.
So were we, believe me. We were like, yeah, when she went, we were like, because she wasn't even supposed to bloody be up. She was only up because of her and shit. So we were like, when she went, we were like, and then when you were getting the cheers, and we were like, oh my God. And then we were fucking gutted, weren't we?
Oh, you know
Trish,
what?
I don't. Go on.
Sorry, I was gonna say, someone even sent me a video of their boyfriend crying to me coming out. I was like, what? I couldn't believe, like, I wish I knew how much I was loved when I was inside. It would have made such a difference to me, because sometimes I do get in my head as well. If I feel disliked, I go into guilt. I'm like, what have I done? Like, am I really that? I go into myself, I start to think a lot, and I start to make myself anxious. And also another thing that I think people have to know, even up until then, I didn't know how much Chanel versus me was a thing, because I never knew how much was said behind closed doors. I didn't, like I said, we had moments where she would be very encouraging towards me. I think I probably just started to get an idea of what's happening when they revealed the nomination rule break. That's when I'm like, wait, hold on. What's going, I think that's when I started to kind of like, it started to land for me. But I think maybe for other people, that eviction did look quite exciting, because it's like, oh, the two head to head. But for me, it was like, oh, that's a thing. And obviously then hearing her being interviewed, that's when it kind of started to click. Oh, okay, this is something that's been happening for a while. Like, I've been feeling stuff, but I haven't had any confirmation. And so I didn't know too much, but it was interesting. But like I said, I'm just glad she came out before me.
We would have gone mad if she hadn't come out before you.
I was going to say, you have no idea the lengths that like your supporters were going to try and make sure that we could like protect you in the house. We were like monitoring Facebook groups with opinions that we don't agree with. We were doing polls, trying to like infiltrate the other side to find out how they're going to vote. And honestly, like I think that the outcome probably would have been different if Chanel hadn't had her immunity taken away. It would have been better to have her out of the equation, because we could have put our votes more like between who else was up? I forgot.
Was it Jenkin and someone else, wasn't it?
It was me, Jenkin, Chanel,
Noki.
and
Noki.
Olivia.
And Olivia.
No, Olivia and Noki, yeah.
Yeah.
It was 5 of us, I think.
Yeah.
Basically, we on your side had too many targets that we couldn't take out, and then the other side only had like
you and Noki.
Yeah. No, it made sense. It made sense. Like, I did have a lot of people tell me that they were fighting for their lives for me. They was like, I'm fighting for my life on Facebook for you.
Honestly.
I'm fighting Facebook mums. And I was like,
yeah.
We were.
Even my sister was like, Trish, I've never had to be on the internet so much.
It was a shame because like you just had that moment of like massive validation, like hearing the crowd like just cheering for you like that, and then when you went, it was like, oh shit! It's like, oh, for fuck's sake, it must be so confusing to be in there, hear all the cheers, and then your victor's like, oh, what the fuck happened?
it was really confusing, but also a part of me didn't know that I may actually go this time. I always said that I thought it's just my 3rd nomination, and I have this thing with numbers, especially number 3. I'm like, number 3 is usually my lucky number, so it means things are either going to change in one way or another. And I was like, this is the 3rd time I'm up. Ain't no way that I'm like, I was just like, I don't know, but I didn't want to speak it because I didn't want it to be real. So in my head, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go. So when they were like, Trish for the win, and I think it was even Henry that was like, Trish, can you hear that? Trish for the win. I'm like, no. And he's like, come on, Trish. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I can hear it. Then they're like, Trish, and I'm like, wait,
what happened? Yeah.
So yeah. So then,
that was quite a ride.
At first, I was scared. I wasn't confident that I was gonna be liked, but because I told myself I'm gonna go up with my head held high, I was gonna come out anyway. So I was just waving at first, and then the cheering kept getting louder. I was like, oh, I'm gonna go.
I think everyone who's like an interesting reality TV personality has lovers and haters. There's nothing more boring than just being in the middle and just being bland. So I think it's good. Yeah. And then when you came out, like, we loved you, like your exit and your interview. Gaz, didn't you watch Trish's interview again recently?
Yeah, actually, I want to ask. So obviously you were evicted in a double, and there's like the format has changed now, so they have to like get one out and get the other out, and then you have to like wait for the interview. So you obviously had to wait for Chanel's interview to pass. Did you get to sit and listen to her interview or not?
Yeah, I was there at the back.
On the side.
On the side of the back, yeah.
And then I felt that it was very unfair that you had to do your interview with Chanel sitting kind of in your eye line. Were you conscious of her sitting behind AJ and Will during the interview?
That didn't bother me because I think that's when I started to realize that actually she's probably, in the way I kind of thought, she's played herself, because now when they're asking her if she'll talk about me or not, it became very awkward. And I was like, and I think because her interview was a bit awkward, I was like, well, I don't really have anything to hide. Yeah. I was like, I don't really have anything to hide. So now maybe in a way, I kind of got validation from it, because I was like, okay, it did seem like there was a plan to kind of nominate me, and I was kind of gaslit to some extent to kind of think that maybe it wasn't me. And so I could now just confidently speak. The fact that she was there, it didn't really bother me, because I would have been happy to have that conversation with her anyway. Do you know what I mean? But I didn't think that she would want to have it to the level of sincerity that I was willing to have it, if that makes sense, privately. So I thought this is probably the most, as far as sincere as it could get in front of people. And so yeah, it didn't bother me because I didn't know what to expect anyway.
I feel like
so what was it that she wouldn't forgive but not forget? I've forgotten what the beef was even.
It's something to do with
pointless.
Paul. It's to do with having a go at Paul, wasn't it?
The bully comment.
Yeah.
The birthday party.
Yeah. Oh, that was absolutely ridiculous.
Was it a birthday? Was that
Jenkins' birthday? He was shouting down
Yinran's party.
That was it.
Yinran's party, no?
Yeah.
When I called Paul bully, again, I think
iconic. I'm sorry.
It was great.
The fact you were limboing, I was so annoyed that didn't like let go of the limbo stick, because I was like, we need more limbo action here.
Again, it was one of those situations where I think it was easier for me to be blamed for the eviction. You would think that I told the audience to for Paul and to boo him, but also I think there was the assumption that people had seen that comment, which is why they were booing him. Whereas I think that that episode kind of, I think it aired late, and there was already a perspective from Paul's behavior himself. But yeah, I think at the house it was too easy to assume this is because of Trish. A lot of, I think that had this, you almost as if I became Big Brother to them. It was almost like Trish is leading this. It's like, well, you guys are giving me way too much power here. Because
that's so true.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, that's right. It's like you were vilified, and the responsibility was put on you for Paul being evicted.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
This is how
nothing
it
to do
works.
with nothing to do with his own behavior in the house or anything.
It was all me. And then I think then after that it became a thing of, because she called him a bully, people now think she's a bully, therefore I won't forgive. But again, it was
as if people are that easily led. Oh, Paul's been nothing but nice in the house, so you call him a bully, and everyone's like, oh, he's got to go.
I think it's almost underestimating the viewers' perspective and kind of like ability to see what's going on, and maybe it's just, I don't know, just giving me, I think, you know what, honestly I started to feel like maybe I've got powers that I don't know of. Maybe I need to tap into it, because maybe I would actually maybe heighten my own experience in this, you know. Is there something I'm missing here? So yeah, I think that's where the forgive or what forget. But again, I think it was misplaced anger. Instead of processing the fact that you're upset and dealing with that, it became I'm upset because of Trish. I was a scapegoat quite a lot, but
definitely. And but I do think, to give AJ credit, because I feel like AJ and Will do quite soft soap interviews now. I do feel like AJ did go in on Chanel a little bit, which I did appreciate, like, and just be like, what the fuck? And it was good to see Chanel sort of a bit tongue-tied there, and yeah, it was a bit frosty, wasn't
it? You know what? Yeah, I think AJ did push to kind of get her to, you know, I think the problem is, I personally don't think that AJ was trying to go in on her. I think she was just trying to get her to just speak your truth. If you genuinely are like, you know what, Trish is a bitch, she's the reason why Paul's gone, and I didn't appreciate that, then that's fair, then say that, then let's have a conversation about it from that perspective. I think with Chanel, maybe sometimes she's quite hesitant to even speak her truth, even if it feels true to her. And I think that's why it's such a shame, because maybe your interviews probably would have been more clear if you stood on what you believe in without the fear of being judged for it. Because if you believe that, then you believe that, but then say it and then let's have a conversation from there. But I think it was the in between and uncertainty, saying things but then not quite saying it. That was probably what I think AJ wanted clarity on what she genuinely believed in.
Yeah, it doesn't really work for an exit interview when you come out of Big Brother, does it? It's kind of the time to sort of put your point across, and it's your one chance.
Yeah,
she wasn't really willing to say it or admit it.
Yeah, you really have to stand on business in your exit interview. It has to be, this is what I believe, or actually I was wrong and I got that completely wrong. Like you just have to be quiet. You know, I think picking a position is very essential with shows like this. It's very clear. It's good to be clear on where you stand. And I think maybe that clarity, she just wasn't making it quite clear. And so I think as a host, AJ or Will should really kind of get the housemate to be clear on where they stand, you know, wrong or right, good or bad, as long as this is your perspective, is your perspective.
I also feel like, so if we go back to the bully thing, I remember the first we saw of that, and I guess you might be aware of this, was that it was Late and Live, and they cut to the house, and live on Late and Live, they were showing what was happening in the party, but really it was just kicking off in that moment, and Will was like, "Oh, there's an argument going off in the house, and someone's saying the word bully," and then they sort of like cut away, and Big Brother was obviously shitting it, because like they shouldn't have gone to the house right in this moment because they don't know what's going to kick off. But then it was like, but then we had this like few seconds clip, and all we could hear was like a voice in the background going, "You're a bully," and so everyone was trying to work out like what the fuck's happening here. So like from the outside, it became like a real big deal. Maybe like we wanted to work out what is going on. Is this the new fight night? Like what's happening in the house? And Big Brother was obviously being a bit cautious about it, so it kind of got like blown up from the outside perspective as well. And then I think like with the edit focusing on these two sides, and by the way, the eviction imagery of like the two sides of the sofa, of like your side and the other side, with Noki obviously having moved over, like that was kind of like iconic. It was the real divide being shown right there in front of us. I feel like it just got perpetuated, and then even on the outside amongst fans and like stan culture, I feel like it's become even bigger than maybe it would have felt to you in the house. Like, how does it feel now being outside of it, hearing other people's views on it? Like, is it blown out of proportion, do you think, a little bit?
Well, yeah, I think that's what television is. A lot of things are blown out proportion. Most things are blown out proportion, and sometimes the things that should be blown out proportion aren't being blown out proportion. But I do understand as well why that could be quite entertaining. I did hear that some people were worried that there was actually a physical fight. A physical fight. There was not, like, ain't nobody gonna do that, and there's no way I could actually physically fight anyone that I went up against, because they would rock me.
You look like you're quite short, Trish.
I'm like 5'1".
Yeah. I'm 5'2", so
there you go. So you understand, that's even part of the reason why when Paul said to me, "I'm not scared of you," I said, "You're not supposed to be. I'm 5'1".
Yeah.
And it was the fact that he's upstairs and I'm downstairs. I'm already shorter than you, and then you're upstairs.
Yeah.
I'm looking up at you, you're looking down at me. This is not supposed to be a scary situation.
No.
But it just got too much. I think at that point as well, I think Big Brother did shit Sarah a little bit, because I think what I heard after is that he did speak to Big Brother and was like, he's gonna cause a bit of chaos. But obviously we didn't know that, so we were just kind of like, we're just trying to have a party. And I think the situation we're put in, it does intensify things, because they didn't need to be there to watch us have a party and not be invited. They could have gone to the room, but Big Brother intentionally asked them to all come out the room and sit up there and watch us. And I think that was quite triggering for Paul, as he was the only person who was nominated with us but wasn't invited to the party. So that probably would have caused some emotional reaction. Do you know what I mean? And so as we're having the party, and they just have to watch us enjoy it, and then he kind of started acting out, and I'm just thinking, oh gosh. And I wanted Yinrun to have a really good party as well, because at this point Yinrun already feels like she's just kind of like the wind. I think she referred to herself as the wind. She already felt like she's just the wind. And then when this is happening, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I know Yinrun's going to be upset again. She's just kind of like here, and people are not taking into consideration this is her party. And I think she made such an effort as well to invite the other group and mix, you know, like she was really trying to be like the peacemaker, keeping everyone together. And so that was quite triggering. And then the throwing the stuff on us. And I think at that point, even me and Chanel were together like, oh, why is he throwing things on us? Like, and I think I even showed him my middle finger. I don't know if they showed that. And it was just like, I felt like it was just being antagonized quite slowly. And then I think I go to the bathroom and I come out, and then Noki's crying. I'm like, what now? And then she tells me, and I'm like, oh, then I just lose it. I'm like, I've had enough. And that's when I just kind of, I think I just mimed it to him. I whispered it to him. I was like, you're a bully. And then he come out, he's like, what'd you say? I was like, you're a bully. And then I started repeating that. And then I didn't expect it to be the moment it became, to be fair.
Big Brother lights the match and then like looks surprised when shit kicks off. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, Big Brother's a little shit Sarah. That's what he is.
So Trish, how did it feel to go from your eviction, just being on this massive high, and then to come out the house and see the next day people digging up old tweets and stuff like that? How did it, because you must have been on such a massive high. And I feel like it was like literally the next day that it just came crashing down.
What people don't know is that it actually started the night before. Obviously, I'm being mindful of certain stuff I can't say. It actually started the night before. And I remember speaking to the team. I was like, there's some tweets coming out and I'd like to address it now. But with these things, you can't just address things like, it's not just me on my own. I'm not just a functioning lone body. I have to have kind of like permission, advice and stuff to go ahead forward. Stuff started coming out before. And I was like, I think I should address it now. I think I should make myself clear. But also, it's kind of the confusion of why wasn't these things found before when there was a social media check. So it's a lot of confusion. It's still taken in. It's all, I'm thinking about when am I going to see my son? So I'm thinking about a lot of stuff. And this started happening at night. I'm like, I want to address it now. They're like, no, just wait. It's going to go away. But then the next day it kind of got worse. And then eventually having to address it, but then also having to stay off social media, kind of look after my mental health, like knowing that there's a lot of hate, but I was also getting a lot of support from people who do know me, like, keep your head up, this is happening, this is quite intense and whatnot. And also just being shocked as well at some of the content coming out, because it's like, oh my gosh, that was a complete different world. And then seeing stuff being twisted in different contexts as well, but then also knowing kind of knowing what to address first is, you know, to cater to the people who are going to be offended. This is going to be new content to them, because I know I lived through that world and know what it is. But for some people, this is very new. Some people are very young. They haven't had to kind of have that social conditioning that we got to have. They haven't had that interaction that we got to have. They've grown up in a world that's more conscious now, that has better boundaries. Do you know what I mean? Like, just, I think just the same way when we talk about Little Britain, that TV show wouldn't run on TV now, but back there it was completely acceptable, and these are the kind of jokes that you know, we took it outside and we thought was acceptable. So and you can't explain that to people, and it's kind of like also knowing, you know what, I have to address and take care of the people who are genuinely hurt and offended, but also I may want to stand up for myself. It was kind of like between the two, kind of being conflicted, like which route do I take? Because you take one route of being sorry and then it's like complete bash, you always have to be sorry, but then you take the route of also saying, actually this is the explanation, and there's no accountability. Do you know what I mean? That was quite conflicting for me.
I feel like there's some people who no matter what you say, it will never be enough, and some people will condemn you forever and ever, and that's it, and you will never get through to those people ever. And then there's other people who have a different view, and I think it's very hypocritical actually. A lot of people will want to forgive certain people if they like those types of people, or you know, if it's a singer they like or an actor they like, they can overlook certain things. But I feel like the people who had it out for you are always going to have it out for you no matter what. There's nothing you can do that will ever change that.
Absolutely. And I think that's the thing as well. I think in a way, maybe it helped weed out as well the people who are really for me, who do have that grace, who do have that understanding, who do have that acceptance, and the people who are almost waiting like, oh yes, I knew it. And I think sometimes it's an aha moment. It's people not really caring about those issues, people not really caring about any of those things, but it's kind of like it's a gotcha moment as well, because it goes into like the kind of messages I've gotten. It's like someone would be calling me a name and then calling me the N-word, calling me racist slurs, and I'm like, well, you actually don't really care about this issue, or you probably don't even understand it. And then also I think even with some tweets, I think especially the recent ones, there was really an attempt to kind of like twist context and stuff. It's like some of the tweets were really actually pro LGBT, but people just didn't understand the context, and then it's kind of like not understanding it and putting it in line with everything else. I think it just got really messy, and so I just wanted to focus on having one message, which is like, look, a lot of old tweets are very inappropriate, and I'm actually embarrassed that this will come up, and I'm really sorry that this is what's happened, but also I've come a long way. Do you know what I mean? I've actually had to unlearn a lot. A lot of us, we're kind of brought up in social conditioning, you know, we don't really just get to have our own views, we kind of have things taught to us, and then as we get older, we either get to challenge them and unlearn or carry on. And for me, I've had to challenge a lot of the things that I have learned, you know, a lot of the humor that I do use to entertain, you know, like how that perpetuates certain issues and whatnot. And so it's like, okay, actually the people who understand me will move forward together, and the people who don't, they're also entitled to not understand me, but I will not have anyone harass me in the name of fake outrage, because I think that's very common as well. You see a fake outrage because you're like, if you care about this issue, then you should also care about the microaggression I faced. Why is that no longer a conversation? You don't care about the issue because you're quite selective in what you address and who you address. And, you know, like I was saying, I think it also highlights a hierarchy. You know, as a Black woman, I have very little privilege, you know, and this is something that's uncomfortable to say, because some people don't want to hear that they've got more privilege than you, that they'll receive more grace than me, that they'll receive forgiveness easily than me. But that's the truth. You know, being at the bottom of the hierarchy, it makes it very hard for people to be as receptive to me and my pain, my understanding, my learn, my growth as everybody else. But I've got to give myself that. Do you know what I mean? And I think now I'm at the point where I'm actually giving myself that, and it looks uncomfortable for other people who still want me to keep bashing myself. It's like, well, no, because I think the best, they say the best apologies change behavior. If you looked at me in that house, I don't demonstrate any behavior that's discriminating towards anybody. And so it's a shame for you to read a comment and say that's who she is, knowing that actually my behavior is quite contrasting to who you want me to be. And so it's like, if you want to be stuck there, that's fine. But I know who I am, and I'm going to move forward with who I am. Do you know what I mean? And who I've shown myself to be.
And it made me think, Trish, like something that I was curious about, which I don't think you have addressed. When you were doing those tweets at the time, what was your mindset at the time? Was it like you were going through something and you were like had some issues going on, or was it just like societally you felt like that was more accepted? Obviously you're not that person now, that's plain to see. You can't put on an act in the Big Brother house for that. But I just wondered, like, was there just shit going on, or just like what were you thinking? I suppose
Okay,
is
well,
what I'm
you know
trying
what?
to
Okay, I'm
ask.
not going to dive into it too much.
Yeah, no,
because,
that's fine.
Yeah,
but I was just curious.
Yeah. I think with this conversation, I think it's almost like you almost had to have been there. It's not that, oh my gosh, I was this person, because even back then, I was even really vocal about injustices to some extent. But I think we did come from a world where we kind of didn't connect the humor to how it perpetuates to different things. So a lot of it wasn't like, oh my gosh, she's an angry person. It would almost be like, some of it were even replies. And I think there was even, oh my gosh, there was even a screenshot where it was literally someone who I'm still good friends with now. And he just used to go into Congolese people all the time.
Right.
We could be talking about, oh my gosh, there's war going on in Congo. And he's like, I'm just sick of all you Congolese people, shut up. And then I start cussing South Africans. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, but yeah, but in South Africa, you have this.
Oh, right, I see. Yeah, it was
so
banter.
It's almost,
kind of thing.
it's, yeah, you don't look at it as, like outside of the internet, it's not serious. Do you know what I mean?
I see what you
but
mean,
to almost explain that to people, and even there will be days on Twitter where you'll be like Asian versus Black people, and we're cussing each other, we're going back and forth. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's kind of participant, and you're not thinking about it as in serious. But I guess later on in the years, we get to look at it, and then it's hard for people to kind of understand the context of it. It's kind of like, well, you can tell people it wasn't that serious, but they're like, yeah, but it sounds serious. But you're like, it actually wasn't. And I think also it's over familiarity as well. I've grown up around Asian people, and I think that's what's so difficult to explain as well. Is like there was boundaries that were really blurred in between us, and you know, now we know better, but back then we really didn't, because we're just kind of like, oh my gosh, we get to say this about each other, we get to laugh at it, and then we go home. Because it's almost, I even said some things about Congolese people, and it's like, at this point, am I like, do I hate everybody, including myself? And do you know what I mean? And it was like, nobody's safe. You're gonna get it. You say something about Congolese people, you say something about Nigerian people. Come on. And sometimes we even laugh about it. It was just that ridiculous. There wasn't anger, and it wasn't that, oh, they're so angry. It was just a wild stage of Twitter. That's the reality of it.
Right.
And whether people want to accept that or not, but you really had to have been there to kind of entertain that kind of behavior. I said, it's like, we look at the things that was happening on TV shows. We look at it now, we're like, oh my gosh, that's mortifying. How did this go on TV? But it's like, the producers were angry, the directors were angry, the writers were angry. It was just something we kind of got to laugh at.
No, that does help. That does help give me some context to it. Have you got anything to add with that, Gaz?
No, I was going to say, it does actually, having looked at some of the stuff that came up, which obviously what I was getting to earlier was like, this has been perpetuated by people on the outside. Let's not
digging up shit.
The people digging up this stuff were your haters who were looking for something to take you down with. And they found the perfect weapon to do so. And obviously it like was a shock for all of us. For you, for us, for the people invested in you, who we wanted to win. Like, it was a complete contrast to what we'd seen in the house. So it was just like, whoa, what the hell is going on here?
And it was quite selective as well, wasn't it? Because for me,
oh my God,
it was genuinely a hate campaign, because I think I've also got so many tweets that talks about like discrimination. I think there's also tweets that actually then talks a lot about, you know, we shouldn't be participating in this diasporian wars, even as jokes. It's not appropriate, guys. There was a lot of tweets like that that's then also condemning my previous actions, but you guys don't get to see that, because that wouldn't suit a narrative. That's not put at the forefront. There's tweets that's talking about, you know what, and also I think another thing is my type of humor as well, quite sarcastic and ironic. So sometimes I would be highlighting hypocrisy in homophobia and whatnot and stuff like that, you know. And there was a lot of those things that were completely not put up and not missed, and so you don't get to see that aspect of things. It's like, actually, I've been like this for a very long time. Do you know what I mean? That would have actually put more context to it. But I think because that doesn't suit a narrative that's safe for me, and it was genuinely a hate campaign that was almost like pulling the carpet from my feet to kind of put me down. And so it's like, it had to be structured in a specific way, and I think people who knew me understood that. And so I would like to very much stick with the people who know me, people who understand that, people who've seen the culture kind of develop and grow forward. I think a lot of people have been vocal about how Twitter was back in the days and how we used it back in the days, how we were quite irresponsible with it, because we would say that and then go outside and play with our friends from different cultures, you know, have a joke, banter and laugh and whatnot, you know, but those things stay online, which is a shame. Do you know what I mean?
They do. And also, let's not forget, like, Black Twitter is a different world to the Twitter that a lot of these people probably operate in anyway.
Yeah.
So they dipped in with these keywords to see this, and then therefore taken out of context, it does look like something different. That makes a lot of sense. And I think that Twitter as a network has developed a lot since then. And I noticed that some of these things were like, in the old days, when you wanted to retweet someone, you had to like copy and paste it in and then like add some of it was not even necessarily your words. I did actually spot that. It was like you commenting on other people's stuff.
And so, also, I think back in the days as well, you couldn't do the follow on tweet, you know, like you can
the thread.
And I really got used to that thing as well. I sometimes I just tweet and then I tweet another rather than adding onto the other. And some tweets, especially recent tweets, people will take like a continuation of a conversation and put that one thing because they're looking for specific keywords. I think it was intended to trigger other people into hatred towards me as well. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a mistake, we just found this tweet. It was very intentional, of course, and very strategized, you know, and that's something that I had to deal with. But you can't really explain that to people, especially people who don't want to hear it, and that's fine. But then also I don't have to explain it to you if you don't want to hear it. If you want blood, I can't give you my blood. Do you understand what I mean? Like I know who I am, and I'm gonna stay here where I am and what I've learned and what I have learned. And so yeah, that's where I'm at with it.
I was going to ask you actually, what work have you done to go from that person who was doing that? Although now you've explained it, I don't even think it's as serious as I thought it was. But it sounds like you were doing work all the way along to try and change who you were. And I like the fact that you said you were challenging those old tweets and being like, you know, what the hell? It feels like, was there like a moment when you were like, oh, I need to change? Or was it just a gradual kind of development as you were getting older to sort of go more towards the social justice side of things?
I guess it wasn't really intentional to be like, oh, I need to change. I think it was just natural growth. I think because I've always been into activism, especially like for Congo. I've always been very passionate about Congo, and I think in 2011 is when I got arrested for protesting. So that's how far back I've been doing activism. It isn't new. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's just the more I started learning, and I'm around friends who are activists, psychologists. We work in the mental health sector. I've worked in the mental health sector as well. Received a lot of therapy for my own traumas. And I think the more you just learn how things play a part in your own unbiased thoughts, the more you start to see it in other people. If anything, I think just like everybody else, you see it more in other people. And then after you think, wait, how does this reflect back on me? You never really see it on yourself first. It's usually something you notice in other people. And then you start to think, oh, do I do that as well? Oh my gosh, what if I have my own version of doing that? Oh my gosh, what if, okay, someone said something that wasn't funny to me. What if I say shit that's not funny to other people? And then you start to kind of observe your own behavior more. So it kind of happens more gradually like that. Do you know what I mean? And I guess it's probably part of the conversation that I was trying to have in a Big Brother house as well, is that unconscious bias. Like when I'm feeling it towards me, I want people to challenge themselves, because these are things that I've had to do as part of my own unlearning. But in order to even get there, I had to admit that maybe I am kind of perpetuating something here. And I think that was a conversation that was very triggering in the Big Brother house as well. And I think that was a conversation that was quietened down by this hate campaign as well, where it's like, it can actually be all one conversation. It's like, okay, if she's had to come from this to this, how do we challenge those people who are still perpetuating this type of views to actually challenge themselves as well? But instead it became of you, Trish. It became a bash. It's like, no, actually, I've done the work, which is why people have to go so far back to find inappropriate comments. But where we're at now, how do we discuss this as well? How does this matter as well? But yeah, it's just, I think it's just gradual work. And I think it's gradual work that everybody actually needs to do, because a lot of us don't even know we carry these social conditioning into our heads. And I have to say, I give myself a lot of credit, because to have to look back and be like, oh, I've come such a long way. And it wasn't like conscious, but it's more gradual because of how I see the world and how I want the world to be. I end up also challenging myself.
Mm-hmm. But Trish, this is so interesting, and this is what pisses me off. Why did they not let you on Late and Live to come on and explain yourself? I think it would have helped so much for people to learn, like your mindset then, your mindset now, just everything you've just said to us. It annoys me that you were just sort of you were, you know, a massive thing in the house. People loved you. You were just like, oh no, she's done that, swept under the carpet. Not keeping in mind it's their fault for not vetting your tweets in the first place, partly. Why did they not just let you on to come on and just have your say and just clear it up? It pisses me off.
I can't really answer that, because
No,
had it been
probably
up to
not.
me,
No.
yeah, had it been up to me, I would have been there. But I think sometimes as well, sometimes the PR team tries to look after us because they don't know how prepped we are to really speak about these things. I think luckily for me, I'm quite well spoken because of educating myself on these things, but I can't expect people to bet that I will be well spoken if I'm put in that position. I mean, ideally, I would have liked to be there. I would have liked to speak of myself. I would have confidently spoken on it. I'm quite accountable for my behavior, previous behavior, future behavior, current behavior, and whatnot. And like I said, I give myself a lot of grace because I know the world are most likely not willing to give me that much grace, being at the bottom of the hierarchy. But I think also it's probably maybe there's a sense of I guess that unfair biasness as well, maybe even from the production team on a wider scale. Do you know, where it's like, is that assumption, oh, she wouldn't be able to handle it, or she may not be able to explain herself as well. You know, I think these things highlight how much work we all have to do as a society, whether it's the person in the house, is the person voting, or is the person listening. And so it's really hard to really speak for the people who are the decision makers. But I do wish that I was given that opportunity. That would have been great for me.
I feel like they could have even pre-recorded it if they were worried about, you know, what you might say, or, you know, it getting a bit heated or whatever. They could have just done a little pre-record, like with you saying, I'm sorry for what I did, but I've moved on and blah, blah, blah. It could have been a really interesting piece of content on a show that's not that interesting, the Late and Live, sorry. So it's a shame that they missed that opportunity, I think.
And I think overall, just to pick up on that point, I think that's probably the thing about Big Brother that this is my current opinion. I think it's a shame that we do have this social experiment, which is great because it highlights so many things that happens in the real outside world. But then I think that sometimes maybe the issues that are coming out are bigger than Big Brother can take on in terms of entertainment. Maybe they kind of want to stick to like, this is entertainment, whereas this topic should be discussed in something more serious. Maybe there do need to be another platform where, you know, there is Big Brother, but then there's also a discussion of what comes out of Big Brother and how it affects us outside of entertainment. I think that's probably something that's kind of missing in the gap there, because even the microaggression, everything that we experienced, it would be quite nice for other housemates to also be able to speak about their issues. I'm probably sure that I'm not the only housemate who has felt a sense of injustice done towards them in the house. There may be other housemates who didn't get as much TV time, who probably experienced other stuff that is probably worth mentioning and discussing as well. I think personally it would be really great to have this social experiment, but also have conversations about what arises from them, from the housemate's perspective and production perspective as well, rather than just the viewer's perspective, because I think there's a lot there that we're missing out on that's worth conversations.
Yeah, I think with Big Brother comes controversy. That's the problem. You can't separate Big Brother from hot topics and controversial issues. And this new version of Big Brother, as much as I love it and I think it's great, that was the one thing that the opportunity I feel like they missed, and that they should sort of delve into more and be brave enough to do so, because you can't separate the two, unfortunately. And that's why I felt like maybe even for you to talk about it right after would have been too soon, because I'm not really sure. Like, speaking to you now, it seems like I mean, obviously we saw your initial comments to the press about it. Like, it's the way you're presenting it now is completely different, probably because you've had distance and time, and maybe you feel comfortable in this forum to speak about it in this way. So yeah, maybe it wouldn't have been. You'd have just had to be on an apology tour, basically. That would have been what it would have been. But yeah, I just feel like it was a shame for fans as well that we didn't get to hear your side of it, and suddenly you just had to kind of kind of go into hiding, really, in a way.
Yeah.
Maybe BB on Blast is the forum that is needed to discuss
you
these.
guys may be the forum. Yeah,
We're filling the gap.
yeah. I think you guys are probably filling the gap. But I think also, if I'm honest, I feel like TV are kind of scared to take on I think issues, because you know what, there's a backlash, to be honest, and this has come from activism and socially learning stuff. There's always a backlash when you speak on something that's quite uncomfortable for people. Do you know what I mean? And I think part of the reason why the tweets was such a big scandal, because I think in a way it was almost a consequence of me speaking of uncomfortable topics in the house. It was almost like, how dare she speak on those things? Well, this is what she's done 12 years ago. There was a bit of, it's almost a punishment to it. And I think a lot of people don't want to receive that. They don't want to have to deal with that backlash by going further into like introducing uncomfortable conversations, because a lot of people don't want to see how they participate in those topics. And I think some people that were part of the outrage, there were, I guess, complicit in some of the issues I spoke about. And I think it brought them comfort to be like, aha, she too is not perfect, you know. And I think even TV producers and whatnot, they're conscious of this backlash that there is. And if you go in further, there could be a bigger backlash from people who are ready to do this outrage. Whether they know whether it's fake outrage or not, is still the fact that they may not want to have to deal with it. It's very risky, basically. And it's not something that, if it's not planned properly, you can't just have it happening because now something controversial has popped up if you're unprepared, especially if you don't have the right people who can speak on these matters and really guide it in a way that's appropriate and handled with sensitivity. Do you know what I mean? And so I think that there's a hesitancy for that as well. And I think maybe also it could also mean that maybe we're lacking diversity in the team at the top for people who are comfortable to say, oh, this is an issue that I've definitely dealt with as an Asian woman, as a Black woman. Maybe I can take this on because this is my life. Maybe sometimes, maybe at the top, it is people who don't really know these issues and are scared to take it on or to put it on TV because they don't know how it will be received, because it's not in their daily lives. It doesn't affect them on a daily basis. Do you know what I mean? And so I think it points out other stuff that can go deeper into other conversations.
I think it's a shame that people often lack empathy when it doesn't really concern them. People often don't want to understand or want to try to understand either. And just to say, I relate because I've recently had to bring up some uncomfortable subjects amongst my own family, and I've felt what you felt about like it being turned on you and the blame being put on you for even like going there. And it's difficult. But I feel like putting people like you on these platforms is like part of the process of undoing these people's learning. Hopefully, obviously, some people you'll never change, but if you've reached a small amount of people, then I guess there's some positivity to come out of that.
Thank you.
And also, I think we'll move on from this now, but I think people digging up tweets is just absolutely pathetic. And if you've got nothing better to do than that, it's just, like you said, they wanted to knock you down. And that's what they did, but it looks like you've got back up again, so I shouldn't worry.
Oh, I'll always get up. I always say, COVID couldn't kill me. Nothing can. Here to stay.
So post Big Brother, what are your relationships like with the other housemates? Are you still friends with the people you were friends with? Have things changed? What's happening?
I think a lot of things have changed, but I think naturally they will change. You know, we're not in that intense situation. You know, we're not forced to have to interact with each other. We're not almost in survival mode. There's some people I still talk to, and there's some people I don't talk to as much as I would have liked to. But it's kind of just like about moving on. Life goes on, and we just keep it moving, really. But yeah, I have had some people reach out to me. Sometimes it's been a bit of a surprise. Like Farida has been reaching out to me. Bless her. She's been so funny. She's been so supportive. I think I had Hallie reach out to me. Hallie was actually very compassionate. I think Hallie reached out to me and was like, I'm worried about your mental health. Are you okay? I'm not happy with this type of hatred, you know. So it's been really wonderful to see different parts of people that I didn't get to explore in the house come out as well outside of the house. So that's been really great.
Hallie has incredible emotional maturity. Absolutely incredible.
Isn't she amazing?
She is, especially for her age. To say for her age sounds patronizing because she's got more maturity than most of the people in the house.
Yeah. And she's more accountable as well. Yeah. But I always thought that about Hallie, to be fair. And I also did think, again, I didn't want to be patronizing, but I think at one point in the house I said, you know what, at Hallie's age I was probably worse. So she's doing quite well for her age. I've always kind of acknowledged that. So yeah, she's got a lot of emotional maturity and she's got a lot of space for people as well. But I find that very common as well with people who are from marginalized group, because they've gone through so much and they understand discrimination or having your back turned on them, and so they open doors quite easily. So yeah, as much as I'm impressed, I'm not surprised, because I think with her experience she would be more open and she would be more understanding to kind of extending grace to people, and I've seen that in her.
And it annoyed
And also,
me.
like,
Sorry, I was going to say, it annoyed me that she went so early, and it was just because of like her basically like having a strop or whatever. She's a teenager. I feel like there was a lot of bollocks around her going that just, it annoys me.
Yeah, it was a bit of a shock, her
Yeah.
going. Yeah, I was quite shocked, I can't lie.
No, I think there was some other things going on, anti-trans. That's what I think with the British public. That's my guess, but go on, Gaz. Sorry.
I was going to say that I think for Hallie to sort of go and represent an entire community in the current climate, like that was a lot to carry, and she's handled that really well.
She's handled that so brilliantly. Like I was so proud of her when she told us that she was trans. I was so proud of her, and I think I whispered to her like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you. I've got a trans brother, so this is really big." Like,
oh well, you would know more about it than me then. I don't know. I just feel like the British public are just, they're on a hate mission at the moment with trans people, and that upsets me.
There is a lot. There is a lot of trans hate. There is a lot, but I think it's also being fueled by the kind of governments we have as well. Like, like the way we speak about the LGBT community, and the way we speak about the process, understanding them, the therapy side of things, the medications they take, the access they have to medical needs. Like the way we speak about that really influences people. It's the same way the way we speak about immigrants and immigration. It fuels a lot of immigration hate, like immigrant hate. And so now something comes up is, it's probably those immigrants, it's probably those LGBT community, they're taking over everything. Do you know what I mean? Just the things we say and the way we kind of share our opinions on certain groups really fuels hates. And so I'm not surprised at all if you feel like, it was very anti-trans. At the time, I didn't understand what was going on. I literally thought that I may go or Dylan may go. I definitely did not think Hallie's going to be the one to go. So when she left, I'm like, the fuck?
Neither did we, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That was a shock.
Speaking about the cast, the Carter Files on Instagram asked, is there anyone you wish you got to know more from the house?
Oh, there's a couple of people, to be fair. I think I've said this before. Jenkin was one of them. I know it was really weird because towards the end, I was really mad at him when he came to try and make up with me. But by then, I was just kind of broken, and I was blindsided by the fact that I've got a lot of dislike coming from that side, so I don't trust anyone. But before then, I felt like me and Jenkin really got on. Like, he's so funny. He's hilarious. Like, and I wish I got to explore more of that, or even sometimes even his perspective.
I wish we did as viewers as well, because he was quite miserable. He had a bit of a rough start in the house, but I don't think his did have a rough fun side came across.
Jenkin is moany. He has his side where he could be very moany, but who wouldn't be moany in an environment like that? But sometimes even with his moaniness, he still has like one-liners, or like sometimes we'll make a joke or finish each other's joke. I think because I moved to the bed next to him, so we had so much inappropriate funny jokes at night. Like, we're just making jokes. At one point I told him I'm going to start a rumor that he wanted to lick my feet. like we will just say dumb stuff to each other, and then he's like, no, I'm going to start it first, and then we'll actually go to the housemates and try like argue over who's going to start the rumor first. So I wish that we kind of I explored more with him. I do think that maybe him being really close to Chanel was a bit of a blocker in terms of how much he allowed himself to get close to me. I wish Farida stayed a bit longer. I wish I got to know Farida more as well. Zach, obviously me and Zach were close anyway. I don't know if that came across on TV or not, but me and Zach, like, we're close in my head, even if we're not close in his head. We're close.
Do you think that's like a slightly shared life experience thing, like moving from different countries to this culture? Maybe it was that you connected with.
Yeah, we spoke about that as well. I did speak to him about my journey here and whatnot. We spoke about our parents, how we see them. He was very supportive when I was speaking about my father's passing, and he spoke about the love he has for his mum. So that was quite special. Who else? I really do wish that I explored more with Olivia as well. I think towards the end, I think we did kind of talk more about our similarities, which was special. But I already thought that in the beginning. I thought to myself, Olivia reminds me of me, my younger me. Because I don't know if you guys saw that, but I was saying to Big Brother, wow, I'm annoying, but Olivia's the only person I know that's more annoying than me. Fucking hell. I was like,
how annoying was that singing?
And she talks so much. I was like, you talk so much, but I talk so much. So like, and she, I like the fact that she's very she's assertive as well, and I'm very assertive. So, and sometimes I think actually Olivia is probably one of the reasons why I noticed that I'm actually experiencing a lot of microaggression, because we got similar traits, but somehow she can be protected with it, and I'm demonized for it. But we're quite similar. But I wish that we kind of got to explore those similarities more rather than clash with it. Who else? Am I missing anyone? I wish that me and Matty's time was shown more, because me and Matty were very close. Me and Matty spent a lot of time together. We were twerking together. he was so interested in me, and I was so interested in him, and we made so much jokes, and he was so supportive every time I got nominated. I wish that came through. So yeah, I want to say I wish we were closer, but we were already very close. It came through to the TV because I have so much love for that guy.
Yeah, he's cool.
I seem to recall Matty being really one of the only people to recognise what your struggle was, and that was mentioned in the diary room, I think, especially during his nominations. So he kind of had your back, like in the diary room, but for us, sometimes we were a little frustrated that maybe he couldn't bring it in the house and support you more in the house, like stand up for you more.
Yeah.
But he was definitely more in tune with the issues that were going on.
Yeah. Even until now, I have to say, Matty is definitely woke. Like we always joked about, oh, this is gonna be called Woke Brother, me and him. You know, so we could really have conversations that were like, I think he can see my perspective as a marginalized person. He could understand quite a lot, and even if he didn't get it, he would say, I don't understand this, but I want to know more about it. I think just the curiosity for him to understand where I was coming from was something that made me feel really grateful. Again, I didn't know how much he had my back, but coming out, my sister was like, you know what? If there's one person that had your back, it was Matty. Like, my family loved Matty. They were riding for Matty. Like, he would even tell me, he's like, Trish, I know you're up for nomination, but my family will keep you in. They will keep you in. I promise they'll keep you in. And it was just that little reassurance. Like, he had a way of making me feel seen, and yeah, I really appreciate that, and he still has that till now. I know that if I feel overwhelmed, if something's going on, I can call Matty and get a really different perspective. It might also be because he's a doctor and he's probably trained in seeing, I guess, blind spots. But yeah, he's great.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear that he's still you're still close. Have you got any more?
Have you still got questions? Because I can go through
you can go through
listener
those
contributions.
Yeah, the only other one I had was really like, what is the public's reaction to you like now, Trish, when you're out and about? I hope you're not getting like hate. I hope people are being nice to you. Or do people even recognise your Big Brother?
You know, getting recognised is still a shock. Like, you know what? I in a way, you're never really ready for fame, and I'm not even famous, but somehow it still shocks me when someone recognizes me, or if someone goes, Trish, I'm like, oh my gosh, like.
I'm sorry to break it to you, Trish, but I think you are a bit famous now. Like a few million people a night are watching you on TV. Like, you're in people's living rooms.
I'm not famous. Even one of my cousins from France was saying that he would literally check Twitter and be like, oh my gosh, this girl's made it. She's iconic. She's iconic. No, you know what? Generally, there's a lot of love. There is a lot of love. I think even the hate and fake outrage is only ever online, and it doesn't go far. But also, I'm really protective of my energy. So there's so many words that I've muted, so many type of dislike and hate that I don't have access to, and I don't believe should have access to me.
Oh, good.
I don't believe people should be seeing negative stuff about themselves a lot. Do you know what I mean? So I really like, I don't get to see the stuff. And my favorite thing is to block. The blocking, no, I'm a blocker. Block. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Block. Oh, block. Sometimes it's like, why do you follow me if you don't like me? Block. I'm really good at blocking people. I've made that like my thing. So yeah, I don't really allow hate to access me too much. And I think maybe I'm blessed in a way that I get to see more positive things, because at first it was very like a lot of hatred. It was very overwhelming, and I think if I'm being honest, I have a bit of a delayed reaction to it, because I'm still kind of struggling to see that there's a lot of love even when I'm seeing a lot of love. So I have friends and family who help me kind of remind me, and I get lots of messages of people just being really loving. It's so funny because in one aspect you're like, oh my gosh, humans are horrible, but then you have another aspect where you're like, oh my gosh, humans are so beautiful and supportive. And that's kind of like the part that I want to focus on, and I want my fans, and to be honest, fans of the Big Brother, to focus on that as well. It's so important for us. It's not a good feeling for us to see online that different fans are fighting, and then they're given views and perspective that we don't even carry. We haven't even seen the show, so that can be quite disheartening. But I really want to focus more on love, and to be honest, the love, the amount of love, especially just the DragCon,
I was going to
it was
say,
so
we need to talk
overwhelming.
about DragCon. How did you get invited to? Is that a thing where they invite selected Big Brother contestants? Like, how did that come about? Because it's becoming a bit of a like reality TV convention now, isn't it?
You know what? I don't know, because this is my first time going. This is my first time being invited to DragCon. They invited me personally. I say that like they knocked on my door. I got an email inviting me, and I think I got Instagram message as well. I thought it was because I mentioned that I was a big fan of Drag Race on Big Brother, because I think at some point me and Henry talked about that a lot, especially when we did the big wigs. I love RuPaul's Drag Race. Like, I love it. I've tweeted about it so many times. So I was like, oh my gosh, they must have seen the show and probably saw the part that I talked about it, but I'm not sure if that made it. But when they invited me, I just thought, of course, why not? Are you crazy?
Yeah.
I was literally like, I'm there yesterday. So yeah, I was a bit apprehensive. I was a bit anxious, because you're kind of like, you just never know what the public are going to be like. But honestly, being out there was no worry at all. The queue was queuing. It was long. I was not expecting that at all.
Yeah, I saw pictures on Twitter from Lewis, who's a big supporter of you.
He's been such a big supporter. I could not believe it. I was like, at one point, Yinran came to she came to say hello, and she brought me my favorite sweet, fantastic. So good luck. And she saw the queue. She was like, I don't want to push in the queue. I just wanted to give you this. Even I'm like, this is so surreal.
So hang on a minute. Were you the only Big Brother housemate doing meet and greets, or were other housemates doing meet and greets? Because I know Yinran was there. Who else was there?
Were there different days as well? That's the thing. Yinran was there. I think Yinran was there with Jordan and Henry. I got to see I think, if I'm correct, I don't know, I don't want to be wrong about this, but if I'm correct, I think everybody got offered to do meet and greets from what I understand. But I think I was the only person that accepted it, because it's quite nerve-wracking. Let's be honest, it's really nerve-wracking. But for me, I was like, I've understood that now. My journey is very different to all the other housemates, from the way everything has gone down to maybe I didn't really get the closure. I didn't really, my opportunities look very different. So I may have to work twice as hard. Not surprising as a Black woman.
Oh my God, yeah, as if you didn't
twice
have to already. I think maybe 4 times as hard now. Yeah.
do you know what I mean? And so I may have to go over my fear to do things that, to just kind of challenge myself. So straight away, I accepted the opportunity. But I think other housemates were offered as well. But they did what they're comfortable doing or not comfortable doing. But I know that Olivia and Noki and Hallie, they were going the next day, because I know that because Hallie reached out to me, because I think she wanted to link up, but then we found out we're going on different days. Olivia, I bumped into her whilst me and my sister were coming back to the hotel. She was coming in to check in, and we had a nice chat as well. Noki, I knew she was coming the next day, so we briefly caught up after. It was different schedules as well. So yeah.
Well, fair play to you for like facing the fear, because meeting the public is going to be nerve-wracking, because you never know what you're going to get. But people are not, I guess you can be confident that people are not going to stand in a long ass queue for you just to throw some hate at you. So it's probably going to be people that actually want to spend some time and have an interaction with you.
Yeah. But funny enough, I was told that sometimes even the people that hate you online will actually come and meet you and be like, you're so amazing.
I bet.
Oh, tell you you're amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, they talk a big game online, and then when they come to face, it's different.
Yeah.
Also, I want to know, you looked incredible. Who styled you? Where did you find that outfit? Like, you looked brilliant.
Okay, so my stylist is Rosalie, family friend. She's really, really good. Like she actually helped me even some of the clothes that I was wearing in the house. But obviously she couldn't tell me what to dress like all the time. But this time we kind of planned it. I was like, look, I kind of want the leather on leather look. I want the wet look. And so she kind of looked. I said, look, listen, I don't want to be spending a lot of money, you know, because I haven't made it like that yet. I don't want to be spending a lot of money. So something decent price. So she was like, okay, I got you. She kind of went and looked up some stuff, sent me a few options, and then I was like, I want this, that. We put it together. She was actually meant to come that day, but she was really, really sick, so she kind of had to drop out. And then my sister, who's a makeup artist, did my makeup and made me look flawless. And then I got a hairdresser who worked with the wig. This is the wig I used to wear in the house.
I was going to say, is that the same wig as?
Yeah. But she
and it went to the house, and it
survived.
Like she literally revived it. Like, you know when people don't say
it looks world apart.
Worlds apart. Yeah. So she literally brought it back to life. So yeah, it was wonderful to have a team who kind of come together in what they do best, and you know, just they made it look magical. But yeah, so it was great.
I didn't know that Henry and Jordan had gone to DragCon, actually. I guess people were just there kind of as invited guests then, if they weren't doing meet and greets. Is that
I think when people didn't what I'm assuming is when they didn't want to do the meet and greet, they come in as guests.
Yeah. People are asking about your relationship with Jenry, and I think it's a bit of a sticky one. I know people online are looking for. I bet Lindsay knows nothing about this.
I don't even know about this.
But I feel like people are now looking for the drama of what's going on in your relationship. But it feels like you're saying that maybe outside of the house you're moving apart, which to us feels like a shame because the connection in the house looked so genuine and strong.
It's definitely strong, and it's definitely genuine. I have to say, especially from my side. I have to say I have been forthcoming more, but I think sometimes you just have to make peace with everyone's decision, isn't it? And you just you have to let things be. And so it's like we're just moving on.
Fair enough.
They're very in demand as well, aren't they? There's a lot of attention on them, so it might be hard for them to kind of dedicate time to everybody, perhaps.
Yeah, I can imagine that it's going to be overwhelming for them to have to be in demand and also still kind of maintain relationships from the house. So I guess then they have to kind of prioritize what's important to them. And yeah, but I can't really speak much on them because I don't know what's going on from their side. And also, fair. Yeah, I'm also avoiding like fans kind of like nitpicking things and then using it as a reason to attack either them or me, because I noticed that's a routine as well. And it's like, none of us want that for each other. Do you know what I mean?
No.
Like we had so much love for each other that we'll rather move with love, even if it's the thing is like we move together or move apart. We still want it to be like in a very loving way because we want safe spaces for all of us.
And sometimes people are just friends for a certain amount of time, and then you move on and you get different friends. That's just life. That's just normal, you know.
It literally, life goes on. Whether we like it or not, life goes on.
It does.
Big Brother's probably a lot like work, really, isn't it? Like when you work in a certain place, you have your work besties, and then once you leave, like life changes.
Yeah.
So a few people were kind of angling for that. Mr. Danny Lucas on Instagram and Alice X Richardson were asking about this. Danny Lucas asked it as in, have your opinions of anyone changed since leaving, good or bad? I don't know if we need to go down that.
Next, wrap it up. Wrap it
up. Mark R. Pedden on Instagram asks, what other reality TV show would you go on? And you can't say none, he says.
That's a good one.
You know what? I think I'll be quite good at I'm a Celebrity, you know? I think
really? You're ready to like put yourself through like snakes and bugs and all stuff like that, really?
You know what, yeah? Do you know why I was thinking of Celebrity is good? Because I actually thought that Big Brother was going to make me, gonna put me through snakes on the Halloween challenge. Because my biggest fear is snakes. And they kept saying they're going to make us face our fears. So I was like, oh my God, So I was kind of ready to face snakes. And also I was so entertained by how funny Matty and Noki were when they were scared. You guys didn't get to see that. I wish you guys got to see that. I was literally dying of laughter. Like I came out of my own fear to laugh at them because like Noki, she turned into some African auntie, like when she was begging Big Brother, like with her nun outfit. She was like, Big Brother, please. And I was like, oh my God, this girl's turned into an auntie. I was just dying with laughter. and then to see Matty be annoyed at how scared Noki is because he's so scared and he's influenced by her fear. Everything was just so funny. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm a Celebrity would actually be so much jokes. So have to face your fear and watch other people go through it. Maybe it's like my dark humor, but it was hilarious. And I thought, you know what? Because it didn't end up being a snake for me. I was like, oh man, you know, you're a bit disappointed. You're like, oh, I would have liked it to be quite a real one. So yeah, I'm a Celebrity. I'll definitely be really good at that. And I guess the survival thing, and I'm quite good and I can be quite strategic. The Traitors is quite a good one, but it might give me a lot of anxiety. And I think I'll be nominated.
I think I'd like to see you play the Traitors.
I could see you on the Traitors, definitely.
But I feel like I'll go out first. They'll be like, she's too assertive. She's a traitor. I think they'll get me out there quite quick. What other shows? Suddenly all the shows I've gone blank.
That's all right. I'm a Celebrity and the Traitors is enough. I think I suspect I know the answer to this question, but Trini Bad News on Instagram asked whether you watch US Big Brother. I'm pretty sure you don't.
No, I haven't watched it, but I heard they've got the drama.
It's good.
Have you heard of Taylor Hale, who's the first Black female Big Brother US winner?
Oh no!
Outside of the celebrity version,
she was getting bullied in the house really bad. So when she won, it was like so great. It was just so great.
Basically, she might have I think this person's getting at the story and like the experience that you had in the house might be slightly similar to hers because she was being subjected to microaggressions and
of course it's always
hers was incredibly bad. Like everyone in the house like hated her and she was absolutely lovely, and then for her
all
to
she
come
was
out
doing
on
was
top
sitting and eating crisps, so it didn't really make sense from the outside. It was confusing.
I mean, I was condemned for eating lamb chops. Apparently, apparently, like that was such a big thing. Even though I shared it with my housemates, but I think on TV came out that I ate 10 lamb chops to myself.
Yeah, at 2 a.m. if I remember rightly.
my mom's colleague literally came at her, was like, "Your daughter can eat 10 lamb chops." My mom was like, no, she didn't. So my mom and her colleagues are always laughing at it. And my mom's like, Trish, you went there to eat lamb chops. So we're always laughing at it. But
there you go. That's your new show, Trish versus food.
Trish and the lamb chops.
I do really like lamb chops though. That wasn't
clearly.
That was one of the things I told Big Brother I can't live without. It was like, if there's any food you would have in the house, what is it? I was like, lamb chops. So those lamb chops were literally there for me.
For you, right.
Yo Jones on Instagram wants to know when we can see more of you on TV. I'm sure you can't even answer that, even if you do have something coming up.
Do you know what I mean? No, I can't really answer that. But just I don't know, just speak to the producers and stuff, and just keep asking them to let them know I'm on demand. You know, tell them you want to see more of me and whatnot. But hopefully there'll be more of me on TV. But we don't really have the definitive answers. You know, sometimes you may have something and it may go through, it may not go through, but you can't really say as well. But hopefully there'll definitely be more of me on TV, because I do want to go into TV. I do want to go into podcasting. I do want to talk about the things I'm passionate about. But I also do want to do like little like game shows and stuff like that. You know, light stuff, funny stuff.
I think podcasting could be really good for you, Trish, because you can talk. And we admire that in a person.
We've seen people calling for you to have a podcast. I mean, obviously you had your Trish Talks show before, right?
Yeah, Talks with Trish.
Is it coming back?
Yeah.
Are you gonna? Are
you
reviving it?
Yeah, it's something that I'd like to work on. I'm not sure if I'll revive that or rebrand it, but I'm definitely want to work on something similar. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm really good at stuff like that, and so I want to take it further. But I'm also really good at hosting and stuff. You know, I'm not kind of limiting myself. Do you know what I mean? I also want to go where the opportunities are coming. You know, I'm quite flexible, but definitely want to go into like talk shows, podcasts and whatnot. So yeah, but I'm not limited to just that. As we said, I'm quite multifaceted.
Multifaceted.
Yes.
Multifaceted, that's the word.
Multifaceted. Yeah.
Multifaceted, yeah, that's the word. So I'm happy to explore stuff, and the world's my oyster, and I'm gonna grab opportunities as they come.
Cool.
I think we've covered. Lewis sent a few questions in for you. Lewis,
of course you did.
Yeah. Well, I kind of asked, like, you got anything you want to add? He asked what made you apply for Big Brother, but I think like
We covered
we might
that,
have covered
didn't we?
that.
Yeah, we covered that at the
early.
beginning. Yeah.
Mm.
And also, was there anyone you wish you spent more time with? I think we've covered that. But then he asked favorite Trish one-liner, and I don't know if that's to you or us. Like, have you got a favorite one-liner of your own from Big Brother?
Fake bad boy has got to be one of them, hasn't it? That was just so fucking funny.
You know, I don't know. I think it's where I said, and then when I kissed my teeth.
That was so good. That was so good.
But you know what? The one that actually got my attention was like, it was, I think it's, oh, poor Dylan. It's always that Dylan, isn't it? When I was like, you're just upset because you got nominated twice, you prick.
You had so many good lines for him in that argument. Honestly, we watched it the other day. We were like, fuck, like what a takedown. It was just like one after another. It was like, fuck,
this guy hates me forever. I don't No, yeah.
The other thing
also,
was that Dylan was a bit gassed as well, and he was being the public saved me. Like, he was really like riding on that confidence, wasn't he?
Black on black crime, please.
That one.
Yeah.
You know what?
Yeah.
But to be fair, when I look back, I think I understand where he was trying to go with that. Looking back, I think he was trying to say that I kind of pride myself of kind of like speaking up for marginalized groups, and as a Black person, I could have supported him more rather than put him on the firing line. But he'd already nominated you.
He could have done that for you. He could have done that for you too.
He'd already nominated you, so it's bollocks.
But he didn't know that I knew that. He didn't know that. Like, I didn't know that he nominated me.
No.
And then he nominated me after as well.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
You were Black, Nookie's Black, he's Black. It's just like, you were all Black people nominating, so I don't know. It's just...
But I think the funny part about that is the fact that he was the only Black person nominated. There was 2 white people.
Yeah,
so
true.
It wasn't like he was the majority. It wasn't like if Black people were the majority nominated. It's the fact that there is 2 white women nominated amongst you. True. So you're not even like, this is like 1/3. So I think it's he was just very emotional, and we're just talking anyhow. But I think he was trying to highlight a hypocrisy, but it wasn't quite correct at that time.
No, not at all.
So what's your favorite? Have you got a favorite one-liner, or is it that?
I think you're just upset because you got nominated twice, you prick.
Oh, that one. Sorry. Yeah.
That thing. But I do like the fake bad boy as well. But also, I haven't watched all the line. I know that I think I saw. Do you see the little clips that I saw? I think I was talking about Paul, and I was like, he's really good to look at. He's like a statue, though. Like, I don't want to say anything to him, but he's really good to look at, or something like that. And I was like, oh, Trish, you got a mouth.
I don't think Paul's that good to look at myself, but a lot of people in there seem to like him, so maybe I'm wrong.
No, Paul's an attractive guy. Maybe he's one of those people that looks better in person than on TV.
Yeah, maybe.
Because, if you see, he's a good looking guy. I have to admit that. For me, he's a good looking guy. He's attractive. But he's just the other stuff.
Yeah.
I guess I want to know, just like kind of as we wrap this up, like, did Big Brother live up to your expectations? Like, how, as an experience, is it something that was it how you thought it was going to be? Was it different? And like, do you still feel good about having done it, or is there any regret?
Keeping my Twitter account was definitely a regret. that would have been if I could go back, I would just delete it altogether. I wouldn't rely on I guess the tech side of things. I do wish I was more protected in that aspect as well, and I wish I was more supported when the scandal happened. I think it would have set a tone if the support had come from Big Brother and ITV. It would have set a tone for a lot of people. So I think that's such a shame in the way that was handled. But again, it's probably the perspective of she's strong, she'll handle it type of thing, just kind of playing part in that. I really did enjoy my experience in the house for the majority of the time, because I was oblivious to the extent to which the microaggression was happening until when it was really coming in my face. I do wish that maybe there's a way that they could have better intervention for the people that are putting other people through the motions. But I understand it's a game as well, and you can't interject too much. But I wish there is a way that could be kind of worked out, rather than letting it accumulate to the point where, them calling people pricks and shit. But
It's a
yeah,
fine line, isn't it? Because it's a social experiment, and to a degree, they're not supposed to kind of get too
exactly.
involved, I suppose. But yeah, I guess when it comes to welfare, that's when you want them to step in, I suppose, if anyone's at
Yeah,
risk.
yeah, yeah. Because I think also, in a way, anyway, I was gonna say in a way, the people that do participate in these things, they also don't want to be seen as that people, because, like I said, we've got so much unlearning that a lot of us haven't unlearned things and came into the house with things to unlearn, and then it came through TV,
Yeah.
and then they're now being judged by those moments rather than other moments as well. So I don't know, it's kind of tricky to kind of define that fine line in a way that works best for everyone, because it will take away the whole social experiment aspect of it.
Yeah, and there's obviously only so much like the diversity and inclusion training or whatever comes before can do. Like it can only go so far.
It can only go so far, yeah, because people have to see themselves. You can have so much training, but if you have no self-awareness, you're not even going to know that that training is for people like you. Do you know what I mean? It takes a lot to have to admit that actually I do find myself doing that. Most people just want to be defensive and protect themselves from ever being associated to certain things, rather than actually being like, actually, maybe I do that. How can I learn? But yeah, I think Big Brother taught me a lot, and I think he allowed me an opportunity to teach people as well. And I hope that platform can continue to grow. I hope that the positivity just keeps growing. I definitely do regret the negative aspect of things and the Twitter side, if I may say that again.
I really think that you've helped clear it up. I know you've cleared it up previously, but I think this definitely helped me understand that side of it today, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners will feel the same way. I'm sure we'll still get a bit of hate. I'm sure we all will, but
yeah. I think sometimes people hate because you're even saying something that makes sense. They're like,
yeah. Well,
I don't like that.
We got told off for like even giving you a platform. It's like, well, it's our podcast and we'll do whatever the fuck we want to do. So mind your own business.
Oh, thank you.
So it's just, I think people who want to hate are going to hate, and people who want to listen are going to listen. So, you know, it's up to them. It's up to them.
And well, for me, I'll just go with the people who do want to grow with me. So that's where I'm at.
Fair.
I think it's a bit of a shame that like it's so serious and it's so heavy now, because Big Brother should have been fun, and Big Brother obviously was fun for you, and there was a lot of like highlights in there. But even when I say to you, like, you know, how was the experience, you sort of lean more towards the serious side. Like, was it a fun time? Like, it should sort of be, it should sort of be like the best time of your life living in the Big Brother house, right? Like, I walked into that Big Brother house myself, and like going in there, like with the colors and the design, it's just like mind blowing. So like.
But you know what? Yeah, again, I don't want to have to make it dark, but I'm a Black woman. You know, there was always going to be an aspect that was going to be a bit heavy for me because of the social experiment. It was always going to reflect an aspect of my reality outside, which is quite intense. Even when I'm being fun, it would be still perceived as being quite intense. Do you know what I mean? Because of where I stand in society. Don't get me wrong, there's an aspect of it that I really enjoyed. Like I said, I had so much fun. I got to meet so many lovely people, got to have so many laughters. Gosh, we laughed so much, especially me and Henry, and you know, we laughed at stupid things all the time. And so it's like there is this really, like, it's a bit of an oxymoron, because it's like it's one of the best experiences of my life, but it's also highlighted one of the worst experiences of my life, or one of the worst things that I experience on a daily basis. Do you know what I mean? But there is a really good aspect to it that I enjoyed so much, and nothing can take that away. The fact that I was even able to apply first time and get through all the interviews and audition process and get it there is credit to me. I have to give myself that. Do you know what I mean? And I've done that while grieving.
And thousands of people that applied as well.
Absolutely. And I probably done it through like a very tricky moment in my life where I'm grieving. I'm a single mom to an autistic child, and I still like thought I could do this, you know. So it's validated a lot of my skills for me as well, and that's wonderful for me, because I can believe in myself in areas where I had questions. Do you know what I mean? And that's wonderful for me. And like I said, I spoke to my guardian angel, and I believe my father is my guardian angel. And to know that these things actually went through, I'm like, oh my gosh, Dad, you're with me. If I may be wrong, but I choose to believe that my dad really is with me and he's fighting my corner. And I think it doesn't matter what I go through in terms of darkness. I know that whatever higher power got me through that will get me through anything. And that's very reassuring to me.
Yeah, regardless of the beliefs that you have that you think supported you through it, like you did that, like, and that was your achievement. So that's a confidence boost, right?
Exactly. There we go.
And
Yeah.
we really enjoyed watching you, Trish, and we really enjoyed supporting you along the way, and I really enjoyed
We were
speaking
so
to
invested.
Yeah, we were, and we've
Thank
really
you so
enjoyed
Like,
much.
speaking to you today as well. It's been really good.
Oh, thank
I
you
just
so
want
much.
I just want to say one thing that I actually feel like when you get to the point that you're able to watch it back, it might be quite good for you and quite therapeutic for you, because obviously there's going to be
So many people said this to me. Farida said this to me 2 days ago.
things where you're going to be on the lookout for like the negative, but I think
Yeah.
like when you see the full picture of what we saw and how the show
Yeah.
looks as a package and like the fun
Yeah.
side of it, maybe it will appeal more light to you than it does now in like the cold light of day.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And I know you're right because I've heard this a lot, but I also know that it's just my own thoughts and my own little anxiety because, like I said, I've had a delayed reaction to everything. And like I said, I told you guys I struggle with anxiety and I'm very open about my mental health. So it's kind of almost just like, you know what? I also want to have a positive aspect of it beforehand because I don't want to go in it with worried thoughts and then I use my worried thoughts to kind of you not judge the show.
To validate your anxieties, like
and then
you're going to be looking
I may hear 10 good things, but the one bad thing I may hear would then validate and be like, I knew this was going to be a bad idea. Whereas I want to watch it where I'm kind of like, I'm looking forward to being positive as well, so that I am taking in those positive things because there's no point of it being positive if I'm not going to take it in. Do you know what I mean? I can still I could decide to have a biased view and be like, you know what, because I knew it was going to be negative and now someone said one bad thing about me, fuck all the nice things they said. Do you know what I mean? I kind of know myself as well, and I'm working in the way that I know my anxiety works best so that I don't end up lying to myself about what it is because I want to be right about being negative rather than wanting to see it for how good it really is.
Well, I mean, the show's
that's self-sabotage, isn't it? And that's anxiety, and we always focus on the negatives. This is how we are as humans.
Exactly.
And also the show's not going anywhere, so you can watch it whenever you want. You can watch it in 10 years if you like, so don't worry about
I'm not going
it.
to take that long.
The option is there though if you needed to.
No, absolutely. No, but thank you guys for just kind of validating and encouraging me to watch it. I definitely will be watching it. I'm looking forward to it more and more, especially the more people encourage me to watch it, the more I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, it's nice to know there's something there that, you know, when I'm ready,
you can do it.
It's a good go ahead.
Well, should we wrap up?
Yeah, thank you so much, Trish. Like, we really appreciate it. It's been like a long journey to get to this point, and I feel like actually now, even though it's been a while since you were in the house, it's probably the conversation probably benefited from that space and you having that time. Because as much as we like wanted you immediately, because as much we like really loved you and we had this whole thing to unpack ourselves, and we wanted like to allow you to speak to the fans. I feel like this was a better time in reality, so I think it all came together quite well.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. I've really enjoyed this, guys. This was a really safe space and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
And if people want to follow you, Trish, where should they follow you? Still on Twitter?
Okay. You know, I'm mainly on Instagram most of the time. Twitter's still a platform I'm still, you know, I think even leading up to Big Brother, I was using Twitter less and less. Mainly on Instagram. I'm trying to look into the TikTok thing, but I'm still kind of adjusting. But Instagram, definitely there.
Yeah, it's difficult for us like over 30s to get into TikTok and work out how it functions.
Do you know what I mean? I didn't want to mention the age thing, but I'm glad you mentioned it because honestly, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to do this. But Instagram is definitely a platform where you'll probably find me at the most, and Twitter every now and again.
What's your handles on Twitter and Instagram?
My Instagram my handle on Instagram is I am Balusa. So that's my surname. Balusa, Balusa. Well, I am before that. And on Twitter, I think is
Balusa Trish.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. It's Balusa Trish. So yeah. And also, guys, if anybody has like a project or something or collaboration, please email it to me. In the DMs, it gets really overwhelming and it's hard to locate it, especially on Instagram, because you can't type words and find it. It just gets lost in there. So yeah, that's that for me.
Cool. Follow Trish, follow me, Light Up VM on Twitter, and follow me on Instagram as well, because I'm trying to get my Instagram followers at Light Up VM. Gaz.
All right. Want to be influencer? Follow me at BB_superfan.
And
Speaking of wannabe influencers, I got recognized by a listener in public yesterday,
Oh,
which
wow.
was
You just
amazing,
love
like mind blowing.
That must have been such an ego boost for you guys. You must have loved that.
Oh, you know, I just talked about it for the rest of the day.
And subscribe to us on YouTube because that's where this video will be. And yeah, that's
Eventually,
it.
you'll get it on audio
Yeah.
platforms as well, but you have to wait a while.
Mhm.
Thanks for listening, and thanks again, Trish. It's been great.
Thank you so much for having me,
Bye.
guys. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
So that was it. We got Trish.
Ooh, God, that was a good chat, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I feel like maybe some of the issues were addressed in a way that we've not heard before.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's because of us asking the good questions.
And Trish did say we created a safe space, which is nice to hear. And it's also nice that Yinrun did a little like not debrief. What's the opposite?
Yeah. Preview. I don't know.
Like gave her the warm up to say like this is what it's like.
Yeah, it's good. And I do like to think we're a safe space, and that's why when people go, "Oh, why didn't you ask this and that and the other?" So, well, if we're going to have a go at someone, then no one's ever going to come on the show again. And plus, it's just not really our style anyway. Do you know what I mean? It's just
I don't know. Cameron Cole might say otherwise.
Well, he's mates with us now. Well, I think we get our opinions across on the podcast very, very clearly and very well. Interviews are a bit of a different thing, aren't they? Bit of a different skill set.
Yeah, and whether we've got it or not, I don't know.
Well, we're doing all right.
For us, it's more of a conversation, isn't it? And I think I always wanted to enable the fans to hear from Trish about her side of things, how it was in the house and outside of the house, and I think that's what we covered.
Personally, I was very happy with the answers she gave about the tweets and everything. It to me that helped put some context on it. And I know people go or whatever.
I'm sure some people will drag up some things which you can easily look at and take out context and say it's not appropriate. Trish herself admits it's not appropriate. So do we. But to hear more context of the time environment, it did help. Yeah, it did help.
It helped. So
and a lot of people don't want to afford someone the time to give that context either.
No. And people pick and choose who they want to forgive and who they don't want to forgive. And if you don't like it, don't watch it and don't engage with it. Although it's a bit late now because you would have watched it because this is at the end. I don't know. Watch it on 2x speed or whatever. Give us the views. We want them.
Yeah, we do. Also, please do subscribe to the YouTube channel because we are going to keep trying to get Big Brother exclusives. If you haven't seen it already, I got to go in the Big Brother house and take a walk around, have a look at that video.
And our interview with Yinrun.
Our interview of Yinrun is there, and who knows who we might interview next. Who do
Who-
you want to hear us interview?
Yeah.
Tell us in the comments below.
Who are we going to interview next? I don't know.
I don't know.
Let's
I haven't even
see.
begun an approach, but I can start. I can start now.
Thanks so much for watching. We really appreciate it, and we shall see you for the new Big Brother season this year. Oh my God.
Celebrity. Exciting. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.